Good morning, pop culture. We are live. It is Friday, February 14th, Valentine's Day, 2020. It's 8:19 a.m. and it's time to rock and roll with Good Morning Pop Culture. So yes, folks, I'm back on the Eastern Standard Time Zone. So I thought, what's a better way to spend a Friday morning than Good Morning Pop Culture? So that's exactly what I'm doing. Good Morning Pop Culture. So, like I said, it's been a while. We haven't had one this year at all. I'm rocking with a little mini microphone because I'm back in Ohio. And if you're wondering why I sound a little different, that's the reason right there. So, before we start anything, talking about Batman, talking about No Time to Die from Billie Eilish, whoever the fuck that is, let's say good morning to some of our listeners. So, let's see. Good morning to, Lord Narco Wookie, James Grimes, DJ Deadbeat, Adrian Brennan. Retro Amateur says, hey, what's up? Noir24, ST, let's see, Alpha Terranima, good morning to you. Also Apocrypha, Stormbringer, YouTube on a Budget, Mike Berg, James Sunberg, and let's make sure, I think I got pretty much everybody that's here so far. We don't have a ton of people here this morning. So, good morning to Henry, as well as Twisted Mind Collision, John Connors, not to be confused with John Connor, the insatiable Mr. Dong, Etepicoid's Place to Be Reviews. What's up? Check him out on YouTube. Bruce Wayne is here himself, folks. I'm sorry. We also have Titus, Eric, Randy, Double R, Grim Reaper, Christina. Good morning, Christina. Anthony, Marcus, Larry. All right. And the Appalachian American, as well as Alberto Soros and ST and Timon Flop, Rover ALC, or IAC, Toxic Masculinity, Super Cherie. What's up? Foxy Cavendish, So Fucking Mature, Christopher, Kevin, Nathan, Stephen Mern. Okay, I got to stop because I'm going to keep reading names for 2 hours. Good morning to everybody that is here. Thank you for joining me this early. And our friend, I believe that was Logan Michael already. He sent in a super chat that says, Pop gay. Thank you, Logan Michael. They are. My friend Joel sent me a care package when I moved to California. What was in it? A box of candy and Funko Pops. So thanks, Joel. Pop gay. Liquor Jim also sends in a Haya $5 sticker. Thank you, Liquor Jim, and Haya right back to you, my friend. So, yes, I'm back in Ohio. It's nice to be back, I guess. Actually, it's snowing here, but that's fine. It's been cold in California. But we're here to talk about, the world of entertainment. Pop culture never ceases to amaze me. Over the past week, we've been covering Birds of Prey, the Birds of Prey fiasco, I should call it. It's been fun for us, but it's been terrible for the film because the film is terrible. And I have no sympathy or simpy, if you're a wrestling fan, for bad movies. I do have sympathy for people that put their heart and soul into films. They don't work. It ruins their career. Nobody wants that. But when you get a bunch of smug Hollywood a-holes who want to tell you how to live your life, make movies about things that the movies aren't even about, and market them a certain way, when they fail, I have no sympathy. So that's why every time Ewan McGregor opened his mouth about misogyny in the film, I was just like, couldn't you do this better, more tactfully? The answer is no, obviously, because we've seen how it went. But, that's that. So we are 31 people away from starting the main topic. You know how that goes, folks. If you're a Good Morning Pop Culture regular, you know that 200 views gets us to the main topic. So spread the word. I was spreading on social media. Sorry for the delay. I had to update Windows. And if you have a Windows 10 computer, you know what's up, that it can take quite a while to get this thing rolling. So after you update it. Jeffrey Hickleberry, thank you very much. I am forever drunk at IHOP. I am always drunk at IHOP. So Jeff Hicks and Jeffrey Hickleberry, those Hickleberry boys. What are you drunk on at IHOP, other than me? I'd like to know. E-Temple Queen's Place to Be Reviews says, get ready for some wrestling content next week. You know what we should do, man? We should go on and talk about wrestling together. I should have you guys on one of these weeks because I'm trying to get some wrestling stuff prepared pre-WrestleMania. I got my tickets. I go every year. I'm really excited. Fun fact, WrestleMania is coming to LA next year, 20 minutes from where I live. So I always joked and said, man, I can't imagine what it would be like if WrestleMania came to Cincinnati. Well, I move and WrestleMania goes to where I move. So next year is going to be a very easy, I'm just driving to WrestleMania, then driving home type of situation. Not a staying at, a strange city and having a lot of fun. So, thank you about the computer issues. It's just the Windows update. Normally, I don't have too many computer issues. It's funny though, for those that are patrons on After Hours, the stuff didn't properly record the program, so I think it all stems from that bullshit. But there we go. All right, 6 more, folks, and then we're gonna be starting the main topic of Batman. All right, Etepel Queen, you got my personal information. You can just message me, and we'll make something work. It would probably just be you, me, and Kendo, and we'll invite Loudy as well. Bret Hart is still my favorite wrestler. Bret Hart's a very great wrestler. He's one of the best of all time. Not a personal favorite, but I buy his action figures because I think he's awesome. Klaus Dork, thank you very much. He says, good morning, Jeff. What's an opinion you have that might get you in hot water? Mine is the Lion King remake didn't need African-American voices. I wouldn't even say that's something to get you in hot water because they're fictional. They're lions. They're birds. They're whatever Zazu was, a toucan or some shit like that. What makes a toucan have an English voice? Why does, it's not even, I don't even think that's a hot water opinion. You can have anybody voice any of that shit. James Earl Jones is the perfect choice for Mufasa. But I liked Jonathan Taylor Thomas and Matthew Broderick as Simba in the original. I don't know who voices the new ones. I don't care that Beyonce is in it. That's, I just don't think that's a too hot of a topic that's your opinion. I don't think that's too hot of an opinion. I kind of believe in that too. It doesn't matter. Whoever's best for the role, like James Earl Jones is the best. You can never say, well, we're going to give this character James Earl Jones voice. Unless it's either a woman, well, that'd be kind of funny, actually. Or like a child, that'd be funny. James Earl Jones is perfect for everything. So, mine, we don't need a black James Bond ever. Yeah, I stand by that one. James Bond is what he is. He's the dude disguised as nobody because that's how James Bond operates. So, yeah, that's my opinion that people get upset with, especially Jesse. I'm just like, no, James Bond is not going to be black or change or be a woman or anything. Just leave him be. Jeffrey Hickleberry says, I am drunk off Little Biscuit's special Dion juice. It's sweat. It's sweat. So, let's start talking about the Batsuit now that we're well past the 200 viewer mark. So, good morning to everybody. Ba-boom. So, when we touched down yesterday, I had seen the video that... the Pui is here. What up, Pui? He says, good morning, Jeff. Nice to hear Good Morning Pop Culture. Well, the Pui, thank you for joining us for Good Morning Pop Culture. Everyone's working and lurking on a Friday or getting ready for Valentine's Day. We'll close out the show with our favorite fictional couples. Is mine Han Solo and Princess Leia? I won't tell you till the end of the show. Metalhead Zaki, the show's only going to be when I'm away that I can do it, but I'll be on the Eastern Standard Time a good chunk of March and April. So if people want it, I can do the show. Just saying. So, to the Batsuit. So I landed yesterday. I'm sitting there, turning my phone back on to off airplane mode, and I get a notification from one of our listeners who says, hey, check this out. And I go, all right. So I click on the little video from Variety, and it plays me this really awesome music. I'm like, this is cool. This is different. If the soundtrack to this movie is like this, I might just buy the CD. And then I slowly see this figure bathed in a red light walk into the frame. And I'm like, all right, okay. If I hadn't read what this is, I wouldn't have really guessed it right away. And this appeared on screen. And this is Bat-Pat, Robert Pattinson as the Batman. Kind of hard to say I'm super pumped about this decision. The acting is not what I'm discussing. I'm talking strictly from the suit. Yes, I know the red light doesn't help, but I look at this and I think Daredevil right away. I go, oh, cool, they're making more Daredevil. And then I go, no, they're not. They're not. But I mean, I look at this and I think to myself, could be better, could be worse. I think what I dislike the most is the bat logo in the chest. And I have a picture of that to show you guys in a second. For me, I look at it and I go, this is Batman. Why does Batman have like an unfinished costume? I'm not a fan of the whole, and this is for any superhero. We're past the point of like origin story, year one retellings, any of that shit. I think we're at a point where we want to see these superheroes kicking ass in their prime. That's the problem with the new James Bond movies. You see him become Bond, and then when we get to Skyfall, he's too old to be Bond. And then the next two, he's trying to quit being Bond. It's like, where the fuck is the movie where he is James Bond? Nowhere to be found. Thank you, Daniel Craig. I hate you as James Bond. But here we go. Here's a picture of the bat logo in the chest. There we go. Boom. And that's probably my biggest complaint. It doesn't really look like a bat logo. It doesn't have that. It doesn't have the ears. It's just kind of two pieces of gadgetry that form a bat logo. I mean, I get that they're trying to make the Arkham stuff. When in doubt, pull from the video games that everyone seems to love. And I'm one of those people. I have the Arkham trilogy. I don't have Arkham Origins because it doesn't have Kevin Conroy. And I was like, no thanks. But I do have Arkham Asylum, Arkham City, and Arkham Knight. And I actually like Arkham Knight quite a bit. A lot of people shit on that game. They say, oh, it's got too much Batmobile stuff. Yeah, it does have a lot of Batmobile stuff. I was excited to play through it because as soon as I completed all the missions, I could use the Batman 89 Tim Burton Batmobile skin, which I did a lot. I also used that costume and had Kevin Conroy's voice, and I was beyond ecstatic. But that's a personal thing. Arkham City had a great map. Arkham Asylum was just great for its time. So I think all three of those games when they came out were my favorite Batman games. They each topped one another. But I never really loved the Arkham suits. Over-engineered for me. I get it. It's a superhero suit. It's supposed to be armor. Batman is not a dude. Or he's a dude. He's not Superman. He doesn't have powers. He has a lot of money like Iron Man. I think Iron Man's suits have translated much better to other mediums than when you try to make Batman's realistic. To me, that'd be like seeing cog parts on the outside of Iron Man's suit. I mean, in the first one, you see him step into that gantry. You see him like get not sewn into, but locked into the suit. It's cool. It makes sense. It evolves into what it is, the nano suits. And I understand that's over 10 years into his Iron Man career that he has this nanotechnology. I'm not expecting, one, Batman to ever have nanotechnology because it's weird. And two, I'm not expecting him to have it in his first year. But look at what the Christopher Nolan suit did. I think they started out strong with that one. It showed him engineer the Batsuit. I think that's why I like Batman Begins so much. Because you start out with him as just Bruce Wayne doing his thing. You see him train. Then you see him come back to Gotham with Alfred. And they make this Batsuit. And it's so fun for me. Like, you know, the cow had a graphite issue, order 10,000 more. Why bats? I'm afraid of bats. Or bats frighten me, I think is what he says. And it shows him, like, you know, sitting there and making little batarangs and taking the belt apart, which is a harness, and cutting it up and doing all this shit. Like, it's just a really, really great scene. And the end result is a really cool costume. I fucking love the part where he pulls the thing out of his boot and, you know, calls all the bats. But I think we live in a world where we're going back to too much realism, especially with Batman. I don't know if they're looking for that Dark Knight Nolan high or they're trying to reinvent themselves while also stay realistic. I don't know. I can't speak on the film. All I can speak on is this suit right here and the music. And like I said earlier, the music was awesome. I hope that comes from the movie. This, I'm just not loving it. I don't love the shape of the cow. His jaw is very, I can't call him weak. I can't say he has a weak jaw or a weak chin. He looks like a drawing of Batman. I don't like the shape of the cow. It looks unfinished, especially around the ear with the seam. And then I hate that bat logo. And the collar, it's weird too. It reminds me of the New 52 era Batman. I think there's like a second iteration where he has like a yellow, maybe it's a Rebirth Batman. One of them has like a kind of a collar around the cape, and that's what this reminds me of. And just for the hell of it, I have this comparison of all the other bat suits. Let's see, right here, I believe, is the one I had. Is this it? Nope, that's the same one. Let's stop sharing that one, and let's share this one. There we go. So here's the cowl in comparison to the other cinematic Bat cows. Conveniently enough, they don't show the Batman Begins suit, but hey, we get the Batman and Robin suit. Still, my favorite is Batman 89's cowl. I know a lot of people say, oh, it's too big on Michael Keaton. There's that little gap in his chin. Fine. Yes, you're right. I still prefer the suit. Overall, the cowl looks great. The Returns cowl is nice, but when we're talking whole suit, it's that like Art Deco ab design that I can't stand. But it's still a cool suit. If somebody said, Jeff, do you want a Hot Toys of Batman Returns? I'm going to say yes. If I'm being honest, too, and you can tell me in the chat, guys, based on the cows alone, I kind of rank Bat Pats at the bottom because people, you can also see there's like stitching and all this other stuff. So we're going for like a very homemade steampunk bat costume. I hope this is like the first iteration and he switches it mid-movie so we get a really cool suit. Like Adam West Batman is from another time, 1966, I believe. So we're talking, this is the first television appearance of Batman. Prior to that, we had the Batman serials, and he looked like shit. And the Adam West suit is fun, it's colorful, it's campy, but I love it, and that's Batman. To a generation of people, 2 generations of people, that's the only live-action Batman they ever experienced. And I'm glad Adam West never moved away from the role emotionally. You know, and if people called him Batman, he would have responded. I really liked that. I was actually very sad when he passed away. Then we move up to the Keaton cowl. I already commented on that. The Kilmer cowl, I like the first Kilmer suit. I like the Sonar suit quite a bit, actually. I think Batman Forever gets a bad rap by a lot of people who mistake it for Batman and Robin, which is a terrible film, but it's not Batman Forever. Here's the secondary suit, the frozen suit for Batman and Robin. Meh. Dark Knight costume's cool. I like it. Different, but fun. I also got really used to it because it was the bat suit from 2008 to 2013. And you're thinking, no, wait, even long. 2013 is when they first showed Ben Affleck as Batman, I believe. Or was it 2014? Either it was a pretty solid run. This was the last live-action bat suit. And then we had Ben Affleck's suit, which I liked. Maybe I don't love the cowl as much as the other ones. I prefer the longer ears, but the suit was cool, and the cowl overall was better than this one. So let's see what you guys are saying about it right now. Logan Michael, all right, hold on. Oh, sorry. Balthazar the Extraterrestrial says, the logo on the Batsuit looks like the Batarang from the Arkham games. I agree, it looks like a piece of technology from that game. I don't love it. I just don't love that. I want traditional black big bat. I'd even take the yellow logo, the oval. I was a big fan of that one. That's also what was in vogue or current when I was growing up as a Batman fan. For some reason, all the toys had it in gold instead of yellow, but whatever, it didn't take away from the toy whatsoever. It was still Batman. The animated series originally had the yellow logo, so I liked that one. And I believe in the comic book, it says that he created that to give the criminals a target to shoot at because it's like the most protected part of his body or something. So I think I read that somewhere. I'm pretty sure I did. Grendel Fan 84 is in the chat from Comics Elite, so I'm pretty sure he can tell me. Logan Michael Anti-Funko Pop says, I really hate the bat logo. Just make it normal. I agree. This is over-engineering to engineer, but, they're going to do what they're going to do. Logan Michael, what I want to know is, are you going to buy any toys of this suit? Because I have a thing. I don't know if I've ever said this on the channel, but I buy a Batman figure from every movie. The same goes with Spider-Man. I have movie suits from every movie, like in action figure form. Like when it comes to the Maguire Spider-Man, I got almost every figure they made. And if they made new ones, I'm there. I even have the Hot Toys. But like for Batman, I have, Michael Keaton, all the toys from when I was a kid, plus the NECA, plus the Hot Toys, plus the Mezco 112 coming in the mail. I have the Val Kilmer figure. I have 2 George Clooney Batman figures from Batman and Robin. I have all the Nolan figures. And I even have a couple Ben Affleck Batmans. So this one might be the first to break my tradition. I'm not, the thing is though, I'm not mad about this. Like, I was mad about the Spider-Man suit from Amazing Spider-Man. I saw that, I was like, what the fuck is this? And I got angry. I spent my day on IMDb message boards bitching about it. 2011, I was in college. I had nothing better to do. I look at this and I go, I don't like it. Whatever. I'm just not a fan. Grendel fan 84, thank you very much. He says, morning, Jeff. There's nothing about this costume or Pattinson himself that tells me he could stand his own against a Colin Farrell penguin. This sounds dark, but I wouldn't mind if this movie was Batman going out on his first night and then dying. All right, that's a little mean. Like I said, I haven't seen his, what was the movie he was in? I haven't actually ever seen Twilight, but I've seen him in some stuff. He's okay. Like, he's a fine actor, serviceable with what I saw, but it wasn't The Lighthouse. It was something a couple years ago where he was in a suit and like in the back of a limo was like the photo that everyone knew from the movie. I'm positive I saw that film and I thought he was okay. Like, just that was his gig. I was fine with it. And I wasn't even overly angry about him playing Batman when I heard the announcement. But I'm also not one of those people that likes to pull up the argument, well, Michael Keaton got backlash. Michael Keaton had 50,000 letters written in. Michael Keaton, blah, 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 and he's your favorite. Look, that argument works for Michael Keaton. It works for Heath Ledger. It doesn't necessarily work anymore because recently we had the same argument with the same level of intensity and passion from these fans over Jared Leto's Joker. And what happened? Jared Leto's Joker is a joke, no pun intended. He is the only, one of the only Jokers in the last 20 years to not win an Oscar for his performance as the Joker. Jack Nicholson is the only living Joker to not have the award either. But my point is, he comes between Ledger and Joaquin Phoenix, and they both, like I said, won Oscars. They both elevated the role. They changed the game. Jared Leto Joker was written out of the fucking story after one movie. And people are like, well, they wrote him out because of Harley Quinn and the story they wanted to tell. They wrote him out because he sucked. Okay, look at sending used condoms and dead rats and all this other crap that you want to talk about in the Hollywood Reporter. That doesn't make you a good Joker. I don't know what Heath Ledger did to get into the role, but he did a damn fine job. Same with Joaquin Phoenix. He felt like a broken human being, and I loved that movie, and I loved that role. Jared Leto did not. So, based on current DC casting choices, like from the DCEU era, I'm allowed to be as hesitant as I want to be, first off. But secondly, not every controversial casting choice turned out great. I'm trying to think of other superhero casting choices that didn't work. Like Robert Downey Jr. was like, I remember 2008, they're like, Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man. I was like, yeah, that works. Instantly. Chris Evans is Captain America. First I said, who? Because I didn't realize he was the Human Torch. And then I saw the movie. I was like, oh, wait, that's the Human Torch dude. All right, cool. Worked out. Great. Chris Hemsworth didn't complain. Didn't know who the fuck he was. Forgot he was in Star Trek. Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. The minute I saw that, I went, yes. I'm not like channel dad Brian Lake who thinks she's too skinny. Gal Gadot, whew. We're not going to go there right now. Point is, I think the hesitation you might have as a fan is valid. It's not, fans bitching to bitch. I think you can have valid concerns and criticisms of entertainment. I think you should be concerned because our whole stance on the channel is like pop culture is important. It's meant to be preserved. It's relevant. It's our culture currently. When we don't care about it, stupid business decisions get in the way of good creative storytelling. And agendas really do reign supreme right now in Hollywood. Thankfully, Turds of Prey fails in that regard because it's just an agenda-driven thing. It's a dumb movie based on Dion and Nick's accounts. I haven't seen the film, so I can't say, I thought it sucked. But my point is, be critical of all your shit. Being critical doesn't mean you hate on it. I know a guy, very nice guy, likes everything. Liking everything is tantamount to hating everything. Like I said, when everything is great, nothing is. So you got to just pick and choose, or you got to just speak your mind. You may dislike 20 things, but you may like one thing. And to you, that thing may have the level of quality that you require, and other people might realize that too, and over time it'll be recognized as this great thing. Or you're like me with Iron Man, and you just liked it from the beginning and liked almost all the suits and the decisions they made in that movie, and you're just on board right away. If this suit grows on you, hey, more power to you. If you love this suit, more power to you. It's never about agreeing with Jeff on the channel. If you agree with me, if you don't agree, I'm just glad you're here to talk and hang out and have a good time. But for me, Batman is my second favorite comic book character over every other character except Spider-Man. And I'm talking, it goes Spider-Man, Batman, and then a whole bunch of Marvel characters, and then some DC characters. Let me know who some of your favorite characters are. But Batman has always been my mainstay. Like, I remember sitting in The Dark Knight Rises with Dion, and when Batman's flying away with the bomb, I look over to Dion and I said, if Batman dies, I don't think I can handle this right now. And like, we both like looked at each other and were like, dude, I know. So like, even thinking about Batman dying back then, I was bummed out as shit. Batman's like James Bond to me. He's very high up in regards to my favorite fictional characters. I have a Batman collection, not books. I collect Batman figures, all that stuff. Logan Michael knows there's a company called Mafex, and they do Japanese imports. And they'll do like Marvel, DC, MCU. It just depends. They're just little 6-inch figures, but they're super detailed and engineered very well. Well, differently engineered in a good way, in my opinion. Point is, they got Batman, Jim Lee Batman, Frank Miller Batman, and I'm going to get them all because I fucking love Batman. So let's see what you guys are saying about this. Shout out to Jesus A. Sabalos Jr. With the Superman logo. So I'm always happy to see you, man. So let's see. GrendelFan84 says, I could never get into the Arkham game simply because of the suits. They made him Iron Batman. He's not Iron Man. When you make the armor the focus of him being Batman, he ceases to be interesting. I agree with that statement. I don't like how almost anything is designed in that game. But I also understand from like not a theoretical point of view, but like a conceptual point of view, if you're going to go out and fight crime, go up against people with guns and all sorts of stuff, you're going to want to wear a suit of armor. But what I can't understand, GrendelFan84, is why is his mouth always exposed? If you're going to have neck guards, finger guards, this, that, and the other, if you get shot in the mouth, you're dead. Why doesn't Deadshot just shoot him in the mouth? It's going to go right through his head and kill him. It's going to go bouncing around up in his costume. He's like, and dead. Like, I don't understand why. I mean, I like the design of always showing Batman's mouth. I think it's part of the costume that should never change. But at the same time, when someone over-designs the suit and goes, well, he's supposed to be protected, he's going up against gunfire, he's got about a 6-inch opening on his mask, and it's the most vulnerable part of his body, his head. His eyes are also exposed in the movies. You know, Dale Gribble theoretically could take down Batman with some pocket sand, and I don't know what he would do after he got him with the pocket sand. Point is, Batman's more exposed than these games let on. And I got into the games because you can switch the costumes quickly. When I got Arkham City, I bought the DLC for the animated series Batman, but the head was a little big, but I dealt with it. And then in the first game, I don't think I had any alternate costumes, or if the game had alternate costumes. And then, like I said, I played through Arkham Knight as Michael Keaton Batman. So I get it, though. I get your stance. He's not Iron Man. Renz says, Soy Man. Yeah, I don't know how much soy this Batman's ingested. I hope none, unless it's like a muscle supplement that helps him get bat ripped. Greatness81 says, the logo is the gun that kills his parents. Is that real? Is that really what the bat logo on his chest is supposed to be? I'd laugh my ass off if that was the case. That would be kind of lame, kind of funny. I would laugh at it more than I think it's lame. And just like, To me, that's like Martha, you know, like when he freaks about, Martha, why'd you say that name? It's like, yo, Batman, take it back. Take it back. Just chill out a little bit. I think it'd be a little on the nose if that was the gun that murdered his parents. And then he's going to, you know, preserve Joe Chill's corpse and beat it up every night like a punching bag. Okay, that'd be kind of cool, actually. Let's see. People think the movie is going to suck. They think the suit shows off his obnoxious jaw. The Batman Beyond suit's awesome. I wish the Batman Beyond suit was in the movie and his mouth was covered. I would just enjoy then jumping the gun and saying, you know what we're going to do is Terry McGinnis Batman. Yeah, you could have Michael Keaton play Bruce Wayne. You could have Kevin Conroy play. Well, do we want Kevin Conroy? Let me know in the chat. 1 for Kevin Conroy, 2 for no. Personally, I'd rather see a Michael Keaton and have it be a continuation of that universe. I think that'd be fucking cool. But that's just me. That's just me. Sir Billy Ritchie says, I'm Forrest Gump and you're Dorothy Harris, you piece of shit. I'm glad to see that the piece of shit game is back on Valentine's Day. That's what I'm going to say to Jesse at dinner tonight. Happy Valentine's Day, you piece of shit. Let's see if she cries or laughs. Knowing her, she'll laugh. But yes, folks, if you haven't caught that episode, last week on the show, we played a word game. We try to do word games each week or just something fun to make you guys laugh. But it was take your favorite movie quote and finish it with you piece of shit. So the Force is with you, young Skywalker, but you are not a Jedi yet, you piece of shit. You know, just stuff along those lines. It's always fun. It's the kind of shit Dion and I would do to each other. But we would replace words like, you know, motherfucker or the sausage game. You guys remember the sausage game we did here on the channel? I thought that was fantastic. Grendelfan84, thank you very much again. He says, you are correct. It was designed as a target, and according to Kevin Smith in Detective Comics number 1000, the gun that killed his parents was melted down into the metal plate under the oval. Oh, so that's what you're talking about, Greatness 81. I'm sorry, you meant the actual comic one. Ah, okay. I did not read Detective Comics 1000. I bought it. You know, Jeff, why would you buy a comic that you never read? Well, welcome to me, where I have thousands of comic books, and I've only read, I don't know, hundreds of them. Well, no, that's not true. If I own, let's say, 3,000 comic books, I've probably read 1,000 plus. Mostly my Spider-Man books, but I read them. Okay, sorry, Greatness 81. I did not notice that. Excuse me, folks. By the way, my mini microphone's mute button is not as functional, so I'm trying to hold back any gross sounds, not trying to be rude on air, but been dealing with a cold. It was weird, too. I came back from somewhere with Jesse, and we were at this convention in Washington, D.C., and next to the thing was a convention full of people from China. And like 2 days later, the coronavirus thing was trending. And then we went to Washington State, Seattle, and like when we left, the first case of corona was confirmed there or something like that. So I was like, Jesus Christ, I'm like missing corona by a day, thankfully. But no, I don't have coronavirus. I know people in the chat are like, you have it? No, I don't. Thankfully, I don't want it. I can't afford it. If I had no voice, this channel would have to go on hiatus for a while. And with the passing of my grandma, that was a long enough hiatus. It was a very sad event, but it kind of, the channel and stuff has got me back to, working and moving on about stuff. So anyway, that's a topic for another day. Edward Coleman says, I have a bad feeling about the Bat Twink. I have a bad feeling about Bat Twink. He gives off a bad shipping vibe. This movie with the current culture is going to be about shipping Batman and, I don't know, Victor Zsasz from Suicide Squad or somebody like that. It's going to be Raylo 2.0 all over again. Yeah. But no, we always joke on the channel, like we don't kink shame unless kink shaming is your kink. I don't mind if people have their own, proclivities. They're into their own thing. That's fine. But like the Raylo stuff got out of hand to a point where people are going after Adam Driver and his real life wife, and they seem very happy. Daisy Ridley's doing her own thing. Like, I don't like when the fandom gets to that point where like I won't call them dangerous because that's kind of hypocritical and like whatever, but they're not dangerous. They're just dumb. So I don't want to see Bat Twink, as you call him, Edward, be shipped off to anybody unless it's going to be like Vicky Vale or Silver St. Cloud or Catwoman. I know The Batman by Matt Reeves has a black Catwoman, and people are like, well, that's different from the book. And I agree. They have the Harley Quinn, the Halle Berry one. I don't think that's a good precedent, but whatever. And then they go Eartha Kitt. And I go, well, the Eartha Kitt one's a fair comparison. But I would prefer Selena Kyle. She doesn't have to be Anne Hathaway, even though Anne Hathaway was not bad in that role. She wasn't great. She wasn't bad. Looked great. Michelle Pfeiffer's still my favorite Catwoman. It's weird, the sexual tension between her and Danny DeVito's Penguin, but it works. And she's so over the top and fun that I want to buy Catwoman stuff based on Michelle Pfeiffer. Not even out of nostalgia sake, just I don't like Batman Returns that much, but I like her. Dean Holfstoffel says, number 1, Batman, number 2, Judge Dredd, 3, Spidey, 4, Hulk, 5, Spider-Man, or Superman in terms of your favorite characters. Now, if I'm doing strictly comics, let me try to give you a top 5. These are fun for me. I wish we could do a stream where we just rank our favorite shit. That'd be awesome. By the way, Jesus, I don't know when I'm going to go to Canada. I'd love to. I got to get a passport first. Mine expired years ago, so I have to get a new one because travel. But I will, and I wouldn't mind doing that. It'd be kind of a fun channel expense. Go up there with 1 or 2 other people, and we film, document, and make some videos. The new one that opened in November in New Jersey, I wanted to go to because I was only 100 miles away, but it was over Thanksgiving weekend, and I didn't have enough time. So I hope he can turn his head. They're, it's a very important thing. Michael Keaton couldn't turn his head, but it didn't stop him from getting the shit done that he needed to get done. Batwang. I like that name. No, but to answer your questions, Dean, sorry, I just had to make sure it was the right guy. Number 1 is Spidey. Number 2 is Batman. Number 3 is Wolverine. Yeah, Wolverine used to not be my favorite, but after reading a ton of the old stuff, Frank Miller, who else? Chris Claremont. Wolverine's my 3rd favorite character. Daredevil, and then probably that number 5 spot's hard. It's not anyone that's on the Avengers. For as much as I like Cap and Iron Man, if we're talking favorites, who do I love? I bought a lot of books of the Spirit. I bought a lot of books of based on, other. I don't want to pick another X-Men either because I feel like it's. If I pick, okay, Superman's going to be closer to 5 than he is to 10 because of what he represents, but I don't know if Superman being number 5 is the best answer I could give. This is tough. This is... fuck it, I'll just say Superman. Nobody wants to sit and hear me go, what's behind Thick Skull number 1? Edmundoto says, am I the only person expecting Hollywood to ruin this movie like they've done with every other movie? I wouldn't go as far to say as Hollywood's ruined every other movie. I would say your concern is beyond 100% valid because Hollywood has a tendency, and I'm calling Hollywood everybody, producers, and anybody that works on the film is Hollywood. So let's say hypothetically Jeff Johns was working on the movie and he was in Raleigh, North Carolina. I'm like, still you're Hollywood, dude, because you're making the movie. So people that are making this movie definitely have the propensity to ruin it. I don't even think they care about story. Well, I can't say about Matt Reeves because I've seen his Planet of the Apes movies, and they were good. They were fun. Maybe, here's the thing. I always like to inspire hope in quotations, being sarcastic about things are going to get better, guys. Entertainment's going to get better. I honestly don't know because for every Joker and for every Avengers movie, you have your Birds of Prey, you have your Captain Marvel, you have your inverse where the stupidity of Hollywood comes in. Like, that's why I am not excited for No Time to Die. I love James Bond movies. James Bond is my favorite fictional character overall. I was gifted a watch, an Omega Seamaster like Bond. I have all the little toy cars. I tried to up my game in dressing for a little while. I moved, so I didn't bring a lot of that shit with me, but I'm going to. My point is, I'm really inspired by Bond, but they're trying to make Bond the point of societal change. And I don't think a lot of our superhero entertainment, see, it works from an era of Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, Steve Ditko. Basically, let's just call it the, Silver Age Marvel books. When Stan Lee was talking about certain things, racial inequality or, civil rights and stuff like that, it was a different time those things hadn't been achieved. Those things were an issue. It was, it was for the greater good type of thing. Fast forward 60 years, relations are better. People are better to each other, all that stuff. But for some reason, Hollywood today thinks it's 1955. It thinks that people are still, being told to go to the back of the bus and all this stuff. But you go into the real world and people are cool with each other. That's the reason there's all this eye rolling when it comes to like messages and causes and speeches and, talking points from actors because they're so out of touch. Like, I get it. You get paid millions of dollars to be fake. So when you try to human in person and interact with real people, you can't do it. I understand that. But you also have the ability to shut up. And I don't think any of us need to go into a Batman movie or any kind of Marvel film to be taught a lesson about us. It's not an introvert. We're not supposed to take an introverted look or an introspective look, at ourselves. We're going to these movies to escape the real world. When I went and saw, we'll just use Batman, even though I didn't see it in theaters. We'll use Batman 89. But when people went to see Batman 89, you entered that pitch black theater and you were taken away to Gotham City, to this otherworldly place, and you were into this great unknown. A lot of the Marvel movies did that. You had an escape from reality. Yes, Marvel was more based in reality, but it was like a hyper reality. I know when I went to New York City in 2013, there wasn't damage from the Battle of New York, but I did think about it the whole time I was there. I mean, those sorts of things are what movies can do. And in my opinion, what they should do. You should be able to sit down, put on your favorite flick, and escape for 2 hours. Let's say you've gone through a terrible loss or something seriously wrong in your life. You should be able to turn on Back to the Future, and for the hour and 45 minutes or however long the film is, you're whisked away to 1985 and all this other stuff, and you don't sit and think about 1985. Like, as political as Back to the Future gets is when they talk about Ronald Reagan, the actor, being president, and it's fucking hilarious. I wish we could get to a place like Indiana Jones films. You know what they did in Raiders of the Lost Ark? Not Raiders of the Lost Ark, excuse me. Last Crusade, when he runs into Hitler, they made a joke about it when he takes the book and signs it and they get away. They didn't spend 20 minutes talking about the atrocities that asshole committed. No. And it was made by Steven Spielberg. Schindler's List was the film to talk about that kind of stuff. Indiana Jones and The Last Crusade was not. I wish Hollywood knew the difference. I wish they knew how to separate their ego, their desire to teach us, and their desire to entertain and make money, because I think we would all be better off if we could guarantee going into a film, look, for as dumb as Birds of Prey looks, if it wasn't about the misogyny or whatever, and it was just like, oh, it's Harley Quinn and a bunch of women kicking ass, and you knew it was just going to be dumb fun, like an Underworld or Charlie's Angels 2000. So we'll just use Charlie's Angels for an example. Charlie's Angels 2000 was fun. I liked that movie. I saw it in theaters. I really liked it then. I haven't seen it in 20 years, but I fucking liked it back then. Jump to today, 2019's version, and it's preachy and full of all this shit, and Elizabeth Banks is wrong and old. I only said that to be mean. She's not that old. But the point is, they marketed the movie that way. It fails. It dies. Entertainment, just no. No, thank you. Sorry. But yeah, Edmund Dodo, I understand your reservation and expectations to be disappointed. I really wish you and I, we didn't have to live in a world like that. But that's a possibility with all this geek culture. If I'm going to go see, Rambo didn't do it. Rambo's a topic for another time. We covered that a while ago. Tyler Preston, he says, he looks like Night Owl from Snyder's Watchmen. First off, Tyler, thank you. Yeah, he does. He does give me that Night Owl vibe. Let's look at Night Owl real quick. Thoughts on Watchmen, folks. I liked it when I first saw it. I liked it when I bought it on Blu-ray. I liked it. I guess I still do like it. I just don't love it as much as I guess I should or whatever. I can like whatever I like, the amount I like it. I don't have to love anything. But here we go. So yes, Matt Reeves' Batman also looks a lot like Night Owl from Watchmen. There you go. I like Patrick Wilson as an actor. I liked him as Aquaman's brother. I like him as the guy from Insidious. I just like him as an actor overall. When you put him in something, I go, cool. It's going to be a pretty good time because he's never disappointed me in a role. But let's see. What up, Breadman Productions? Thank you for joining by while you're working and lurking. What's up, Girthy Guitarist? Let's see. Thank you, Dr. Coffin Nails. We'll take care of that right now. Let's see. Let's take care of that for just a quick second. I'll do it in a bit. He's going to stab somebody with his chin. Yeah, Batfleck's chin is pretty strong, but so is Patrick Wilson's. I mean, that thing is very, very pointy. I think I like his rendition more than I like the comic book version of Dan Dryberg. I don't know. I guess the point of the book is that Dan's supposed to be weak and flaccid until he puts on the suit, and then he gets his power, his virility, his manhood back. I understand what Alan Moore was going for, but he almost looks too much of a wuss. I enjoy, I enjoy the movie version quite a bit. Thank you, YouTube, for freezing on me. Thank you, Cesario Japan. Thank you. Let's see. So yeah, folks, we have over 500 people watching on Good Morning Pop Culture. That's damn good for Good Morning Pop Culture. I mean, normally it's smaller, it's more intimate affair, but it's fun, and I think a lot of people enjoy that. And like I said, later in March, maybe the beginning of April, we'll do a few more episodes, maybe a whole week run, who knows. I'll be back in Cincinnati for some family stuff. Initially, I was going to go back to see my grandma, who was sick, but since she passed away, I'm not going to tell my mom, well, Mom, I'm not coming back because Grandma's gone now. So I'm still going to go back and spend some time with her after Horror Hound. So if you want to beat us, we're going to be at Cincinnati Horror Hound March 20th through the 22nd in Cincinnati and at the Sharonville Convention Center. Tickets are I think $15 or something like that to get in. We're going to have some cool stuff there, and you can come out, hang out with us, drink at the table, shoot the shit. We might do a live stream from there. Who knows? But we do that each year as a way to meet everybody. The channel will also be at Star Wars Celebration this year. And if you don't want to go to Celebration and give Disney your money, you don't have to. We're going to have a Fandom Menace meetup. We're trying to work that out right now. It's fairly early in the year. So 6 months is plenty of time to get these people's shit together, or for these people to get their shit together. So in a perfect world, I mean, Gary lives right up the highway from it, so he can't have an excuse not to be there. I live not too far from it, so I'll be there. I've already committed. Anna lives close by. Jesse lives close by. We'll get Ethan out there. Jeremy can make a video on the way out. We'll get Doomcock. If he's busy, we'll just make him go anyway. I want to do a big Fandom Menace meetup with all the creators, all the fans. Have a good time. But no more Night Owl. I'm tired of looking at Watchmen. It reminds me of that shitty TV show. So, no thanks. Yeah, Jacobite, you're right. Thank you, YouTube, for freezing up on me. You piece of shit. A Fandom Menace con would be cool. It's possible for the amount of people that listen and stuff. We could make it happen. We've actually had an idea about that, but can't talk about it just yet. But you'll never guess whose idea it was. Hint, it's a guy on my show, and it's not me. Cesario Japan says, speaking of Batman Arkham series, do you think that game made Harley Quinn more popular to the non-comic fans? Yes, I do. A lot of us here are fans of the property of Batman. So it's if you're a Batman fan, you see the movies, you buy them on Blu-ray or DVD. You got a couple trade paperbacks or comic books, a figure, whatever, some kind of collectible. You just like Batman. You watch the show. You may or may not have been Batman for Halloween, something along those lines. But the video game market is a lot different. I think it's safe to say everybody knows Batman. My grandma knew Batman. Everybody knows Batman. Now, as a gamer, you might read a review about Arkham this or this. It's this great, action, whatever. Not RPG. I almost said RPG. It's clearly not an RPG, but it's a great action game. It's got great controls, this, that, and the other, great performances. So you might entice a group of people who know Batman, obviously, who've seen the movies, but don't know the world, and you introduce them to that. So Sorry Japan, I would agree that Harley Quinn's appeal was probably expanded because I say there were more women that played video games in 2009, 2011 when Arkham City came out than the post-MCU Funko Pop generation. The Big Bang Theory introduced a lot of people to geek culture as well, but I don't necessarily say it's a good thing. But yes, definitely the game broadened the appeal and the spread of Harley Quinn to a wider audience. I feel like that's why you have the different designs in the film. I mean, call me a purist, call me boring, call me whatever you want to call me, but I'm a fan of the old red and black Harley Quinn head-to-toe costume. I just like the look. I think it's a phenomenal look. You could adapt it for a more like a realistic approach because in the game or the movie, the show, she's just wearing a body stocking. I'm not going to complain about Margot Robbie wearing that, but people would say it's boring, it's dull, it's not sexy enough, which is funny if anyone used the argument it's not sexy enough because Margot Robbie and Jerry Conway and all these people are, taking a stand against the sexuality of Harley Quinn and all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, I don't really think of Harley Quinn as a sexy character at all. I mean, no. The only part that I remember is Harley Quinn's like one of the first cartoon characters I ever saw as a kid trying to get laid. Because she goes up to the Joker. She's like, don't you want to rev up your Harley? She's in that nightgown. I think he throws her out the fucking window or something. So I'm just saying, like, never mind. For as unsexual as they're trying to make her, that is the first experience I ever had as a kid on a cartoon with somebody wanting sex. But that's neither here nor there. It's just an interesting aside that I had. But yes, the game did because you had that weird, leathery, giant mallet look. I don't know when Amanda Conner started drawing the comic, but I just think that game's popularity was so great that she definitely reached a lot of people. You see a lot of cosplayers do the game suit over the comic suit because cosplayers want to be sexy. They want to look cool. They want to do this. They want to do that. And then, we have the whole discussion about, don't objectify cosplayers or this or that. It's like, I want to go to a convention to meet artists that are old and they may not be with us much longer. Like, I don't want to go take pictures with cosplayers. I mean, good for those people. I would never try to take away any of their business, any of their fun. I just don't get it. But that's me. If you like cosplay, hey, let me know in the chat. So in the comic Mad Love, it's implied she seduced a male professor to a degree. I read Mad Love a while ago. Do I have the book? Because it's Mad Love and Other Stories. I know that. I know I've read it. I remember the episode Mad Love. Yeah, clearly because that's when she got thrown out the fucking window. AJ Journeyman, you and I are on the same page on all this Harley Quinn stuff right now. It's blatantly obvious. We're both like, if you want to avoid the male gaze, you do this. You just have the original look. If you want, why are you doing these things? I think DC not having a Kevin Feige, it's blatantly obvious that they don't have a direction or somebody that at least has a cursory knowledge of these characters. It would help. Even if you don't have him per se, you should have kept Jeff Johns around instead of making him suffer for some failures. Goji Fan 67, yes. Change the cow. Change the cow is right. I heard that they're going to either I heard they're rebooting. I thought they were for a minute when I heard the Arkham City news, the Arkham game news, I thought they were going to continue it. But, with Joker being gone, you can't continue it because the Joker is the best fictional the Joker is the best comic book villain hands down. But I'm tired of him. Not the Joaquin Phoenix version. Don't get me wrong. I thought that movie was fantastic. Definitely would watch another Arthur Fleck Joker film. But every Batman thing seems to have the Joker in it, which is fine until it's not. And I'm at a point where it's like, I want to see the Riddler. I want to see this. I want to see Two-Face again. You're thinking, well, you just saw Two-Face in The Dark Knight. That's true, I did. But I've also seen the Joker 2 other times since I've seen The Dark Knight. One was fantastic. One was an abomination. So that is my take. If you're going to do more Batman games, please, Joker's great, but you can't top Mark Hamill. You can't top that performance. Just let it go. Let it go and do something else. Yeah, Dr. Coffinails, I'm sure a lot of people said that catchphrase, I'm Batman. Let me see if I can find something real quick. Give me just a brief moment. It's hilarious. In the 80s, the I'm Batman thing was just super, super over. So can I find it on here? There's an issue of Spider-Man where hold on. I don't know the issue, or else I would pull up the issue number. But Spider-Man's fighting a villain on the top of a roof, and he's holding the guy up, and he's like, "Who are you?" He goes, Spider-Man." Just like that. That's how popular that catchphrase was. I can't find it. Shit. Sorry. It's a Todd McFarlane issue if you want to go back and look it up. It's going to be post 1989. Or maybe it isn't. Yeah, it could have been like late 1989, early 90. But it's fantastic. If you can find it, I highly recommend it. Yeah, James, for a first draft suit, that's cool. But why do they not realize that, like, initial appearances, if you have one first impression to make, and people are so attached to the appearance of Batman that you kind of got to get it right away. I could be wrong. I don't really remember 15 years ago that well, but the first image I saw of the Nolan Batsuit was when he's coming down the stairwell with all the bats. I feel like that might have been the first picture I saw. May not have been the first picture, but I remember that. I also remember when I was in Spain in high school, there were Batman ads everywhere, and then I got back to America and I saw it, and I was not disappointed. But like the Batfleck picture became a meme. Remember, he looked sad Batman. That was the first appearance of that costume. I want to just Google sad Batman real quick and see if that still pops up. You might get sad Batfleck. Nope, there it is right there. Sad Batman. Check this out. It's a Google search. There it is right there. Sad Batman. Everybody remembers this image, and it became a meme, and it was just this thing for a while. And you're like, oh, sad Batman. Whatever. I don't know if that's what you want, DC, but that's what you got. But at least it had people talking. This is people talking too, but I really do like the I really did like the Batman stuff from Batman versus Superman. The look, the cave, the car, the wing. It was neat. Didn't like that he killed people. But that's a topic for another day. So let's see what else everyone is saying. Dean Hopstoffel says, I'm optimistic, but Reeves is a JJ disciple. I may have mentioned it once or twice. I don't really like JJ Abrams, but if you're new to the channel, I don't really like JJ Abrams. And all joking aside, though, I do worry about the impact that guy has in Hollywood, because he's slowly planting people that he either influenced, he helped early in their career, gave them a start, something like that. And the more power he gets, the more power they get, and he controls Hollywood. And I don't know him as a person, but as a director, he's very dangerous, because his idea of good and new is just old and rehashed. See his Star Wars movies. Well, don't see his Star Wars movies, but you get what I mean. The J.J. Abrams Star Wars flicks, if anyone sees Episode 7 and then is told that it's a rehash of A New Hope, and they go, no, it's not, it's completely original, take those people to get their eyes checked or back to school for their reading comprehension skills, because it is very clear that Episode 7 rehashes Episode 4. Star Trek Into Darkness rehashes Star Trek The Wrath of Khan. I mean, his movies are all homages and remakes. Super 8 is essentially The Goonies and E.T. I can't think of any other thing that he made off the top of my head right at this very moment. But my point is, like, the dude is the king of redos. And we're at a point now with Hollywood where remakes, reboots, reimaginings, gender swaps, that's what Hollywood's full of, besides shit, and it's not working. We're seeing bad box office. We're at a point now where $1 billion picture is a failure. See Star Wars The Last Jedi, Rise of Skywalker. Yes, it made $1 billion. It took forever to get there. It's less successful than Rogue One in Europe, I believe, maybe even America, worldwide. Point is, it took forever to reach that $1 billion mark. Lowest opening, lowest this, lowest that. All the money they spent on the fucking movie. So if you spend $1 billion, or a movie makes $1 billion and your profits are only $100 million at the end of the day, I think you really need to reevaluate, reassess every step of it. And that includes J.J. Abrams' contributions. People are like, what about the JJ cut of Star Wars? I don't want a JJ cut. We've seen the JJ cut of other things. I've seen enough JJ stuff. So no. But I'm going to remain optimistic as well about Matt Reeves, because what I've seen him do, I've enjoyed. I thought it was good stuff. Could it be terrible? Of course it could be terrible. Could be the worst Batman movie ever. Could be the best. Anything's possible. So we'll just find out next year, 2021. Not that excited, but it's Batman, so whatever. Warren Rohr says, too skinny, way too lean, looks like Daredevil. Yes, Warren, he looks just like Daredevil, especially with the red lighting. The red lighting doesn't help the Batsuit. I think you have an issue with the whole the coloring that they've chosen. Because there's a great meme where they use this first picture in the top left-hand corner and just put the Daredevil logo. And I'm like, yep. If you would have shown me I can't speak right now. If you would have said to me that this is the MCU Daredevil, I'd go, oh, okay. Why has he got a cape on? But I believe it. Yeah, so homages are usually respectful. You're 100% right. A disrespectful homage. See, JJ thinks he's being respectful, and everyone around him is like a Lucas yes man, where they're like, oh, JJ, that's a great idea. We're having a great time. Like, JJ Abrams may be the nicest guy to work with, but his end product is not that nice of a thing. I don't enjoy it. I'm really worried. I will action figure expert. I'll say hi to my mom on Sunday when I see her. Yes, quick side note. I did see that Clownfish TV, or I do know Clownfish TV. They're good people. They saw the Sonic movie. I haven't had a chance to see the Sonic movie. I kind of want to reward Paramount for listening to the audience, because it's like, hey, this Sonic design is dog shit, and everyone bitched about it, and they went back and changed it, and I don't hear anyone being called a sexist or a racist. You can't, because it's a hedgehog. My point is, listening to fans and fixing your end product is great. Like, if everyone on the internet complained about this Batsuit, you'd have these stupid writers going, well, it's just a Twilight bias. You don't like Robert Pattinson. You need to watch his role. It's like, we're bitching about a costume that he had no input on. You see how that works? They always try to place the blame on the fans. But in reality, you guys, and myself included, we're consumers. We're customers. And the customer's always right. And I know these people say, well, this customer's always right mentality allows people to abuse people in the service industry, blah, blah, blah. That's not what I'm saying by the customer's always right. What I'm saying is, if you don't like the suit and the movie fails, or they don't deliver more merchandise, then the customer was right. By not liking it, everyone didn't consume it in the way they could have or maybe should have. So, I mean, there's always an important mix, a balance, a blend of listening to the audience. And look, we went from the worst thing ever, CGI'd with the old Sonic design, to a damn good-looking Sonic design that I don't hate. So, that is not the worst thing ever. Uh, yes. Oh, we haven't touched anything. Yeah. Just waiting for a Wonder Woman, yeah. Yeah, the damn mask is dumb, but anyway. Sorry, somebody was at the door. So, let's see, where were we at? Oh, the Sonic movie, yes. If you want to see it, go see it. Like I always tell you guys, do what you want to do. Maybe eventually I'll see it. I guarantee it doesn't have any racist or homophobic slurs because it's a kid's movie, and people that defend Birds of Prey obviously are trolling to get a rise out of us, but hey, it made me laugh. So who do we have next? Klaus Stork says, will Dion have a Dark Fate t-shirt in the next comic? I guess Dion should actually have a better presence in the next one, too. Maybe he will. Maybe he won't. I got to get him some Dark Fate t-shirts in the real world. Maybe I'll just have him like a shirt that says T6DF on it or something. Oh, never mind. I'm not gonna. That's a good idea. I'm gonna put it in there now. Something different, completely related to Klaus Stork, but yeah, Dion and his Terminator Dark Fate, the film that he loves, that he claims to have never seen, but I'm gonna get him a copy on Blu-ray for his birthday in November. Andrew Clark says, I think it's less about escapism and more about encountering the sublime as described in aesthetics. It's about being inspired by something greater. I like that. There is a balance, though, between the escapism, but like I use the Indiana Jones example. I think that's a great, a prime example of escapist entertainment. But when it comes to like the superhero stuff, you are inspired, like Superman. Christopher Reeve, Superman, definitely an inspirational version of the character. It's fun every time I hear that music. I kind of perk up a smidge. I get excited. It's I might actually argue that's John Williams' best score, like the theme song. So, well, I can't say the full score because some of the Superman scores, I mean, overall, Star Wars beats it. But the main themes, you could convince me on a good day that the Superman theme is better than the Star Wars theme on a good day. I actually had this discussion with Jesse in the shower. We were talking about the Batsuit, and I said how I liked the music in the video, and I said, but when it comes to Superman, every version should have that John Williams theme. And she agreed. I think there's not been a better superhero theme ever. You know, when it comes to Batman, people like the Tim Burton, some people like the Hans Zimmer / Nolan stuff. And Danny Elfman did the Tim Burton one, so I just want to correct myself there. But sometimes there are different renditions. You know, some people like the Shirley Walker Batman theme from the cartoon, the dun 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 dun, the other one that they use in the cartoon as well. So I mean, Batman has that luxury of multiple themes, but Superman, you have the old serial one, which is kind of fun, but it's nothing that the John Williams theme can't beat in like 4 notes. So that's just me. That's just me being like super into that theme. But like every time I hear it, I get pumped up, and it's awesome. I'm glad they brought it back for Justice League. Did it save the movie? No. Did it help it? Kinda. I don't know. I gotta be honest. I don't know if it helped it, but it was awesome to hear again. Dr. Coffinails also says, didn't Jerry Conway stuff Gwen Stacy in the fridge? So toxic. He didn't stuff her in a fridge. She got thrown off a bridge. So, yes, Gwen Stacy, one of the greatest tragedies of Spider-Man's fictional life is when Gwen Stacy was killed by the Green Goblin. And you never know if it was the Goblin that threw her off the bridge that killed her, or when Peter used his web line to catch her, it snapped her neck, if that's what killed her. And that was one of the great mysteries for decades and decades. Maybe, I mean, the Green Goblin says in the next issue she was dead before you got here, but you still always got a wonder type of thing. Because there were reprints of the book where they took out the snap sound effect. They were, they put it back in subsequent reprintings. And it's always more fun to speculate that Spider-Man killed his own girlfriend. And, did he? Jerry Conway is a very good writer. Now, folks, if you had the opportunity, thank you. If you haven't, check it out on our newest our latest video, we talked about Jerry Conway's comments on Birds of Prey and the sexualization. And for being so iconic, he just feels a little out of touch. And that comes with a lot of these property or creators. They're out of touch with a lot of stuff. And sometimes they just talk the talk, or sometimes they believe in what they say. They just, come off as archaic. But all respect to Jerry Conway's work and as a person. Don't know him, but his work on Spider-Man, I would say is second to none, but that's not the case. Stan Lee, Roger Stern, better right. J.M. DeMatteis, probably better writers than Jerry Conway. If people say, well, Stan Lee only co-created and Steve Ditko did more. Yeah, but Stan Lee also really added the dialogue and the wittiness and the jokes. Like, co-creation is a co-creation. It's a 50-50 thing. Yes, Ditko did the suit and some of the acrobatics and the web shooters and stuff, but the jokes that everyone seems to only care about from Spider-Man movies, that's all Stan Lee. So there we go. Yeah, Valentine Ward. There is something where the Goblin says she's already dead, but it's like they've kind of not retconned it, but like they play around with it. Did he kill her? Did he not? Like, it's a thing. 70s comics aren't the best for continuity or perfect stuff. I don't know. Is Steve Ditko criminally underrated, Tyler? I don't know if I agree with that statement. I think in the comic book collecting circle, he definitely gets his due. In my opinion, I think he gets a little too much praise over certain things. Like his work on Spider-Man is fantastic. I'm not trying to take away any of his creative endeavors, but I don't think he was the best to do Spider-Man. I think John Romita, the follow-up artist, was much better and much more impactful. If you say, well, the guy created him, how can anyone be more impactful? Well, he refined Spider-Man and made him the design that you really know and love. Well, if you're of a certain age, let me rephrase that. If you grew up in the 70s, 80s, and even into the 90s, all the like merchandise and the design work and stuff, was based on the John Romita stuff. Ditko, not so much. Now, I'm not saying just because his stuff appeared on T-shirts, it makes him more iconic. I'm not. But every artist following that guy for 30 years drew Spider-Man just like him. They didn't go back, unless you're Ron Frenz. You didn't really go back to the Ditko style. Most people stuck with the Romita style because it was the whole house style of Marvel. His style was that iconic and that powerful, and his work, had a lasting appeal that really was second to none. But Ditko in general, I think, like I said, he has a lot of, I don't know, is acolyte the right word to describe it? Anyway, he's got a lot of really strong fans that definitely sing his praise. I'm a member of a lot of these Facebook groups that are dedicated to Steve Ditko. When he died, people went on for weeks about it, rightly so. He was a prolific creator. But at the same time, even when he's still alive, they would go on about his morals and his beliefs. And like, I think Steve Ditko probably turned a lot of people off with his objectivist viewpoints, especially his worship of Ayn Rand. And worship is just, an extreme word to use here. But like, Mr. A and the morality and stuff, it's like if I'm into a band and I really fucking like this band and it's all I talk about and everything I do is influenced by this band, and you guys don't like the band, and eventually you're just like, Jeff's cool and all, but he's obsessed with this band that he won't stop talking about or, quoting or this and that. To me, that was Ditko with some of his objectivist stuff. After a while, it's just like, I get it. All your books are about the right and the wrong, Mr. A and his black and white card. And you're probably thinking to yourself, what the hell is this? Well, Ditko went on to do a lot of other work post Spider-Man. But, I mean, that's just his stuff. Hawk and Dove. It was a lighter version of that. I don't know if he ever worked on The Question. I know Rorschach from Watchmen, going back to Watchmen, is based off of Mr. A. And you know how Rorschach never compromised even in the face of Armageddon. That's just essentially Steve Ditko creation. And I think Ditko is always going to be remembered as Spider-Man and Doctor Strange. But he did create more. and he was a very good artist. I think what hurt Ditko's art was the reproduction technology of the time, and maybe some of the inking. Because I know he inked his own stuff, but I've seen like some of his Spider-Man pencils. Like there's like a couple pictures floating around of like rough drafts of earlier pages or something from like the Master Planner saga, and like the pencils are so great. It's like Spider-Man fighting these goons in a helicopter. He's like flying around the room and doing all this stuff. I was like, this is very graceful. And then the pencils the inks kind of stiffened it up. And then the reproduction is so dodgy because it's 1965 or 6. And it's like, oh, okay. But the dude was fantastic. Never taken away that. But I don't know. I think Ditko gets his due by the right people. And I don't think modern audiences or the new comic crowd are going to look back. The sad thing, though, is it's like Jack Kirby. I used to use this as an example, like when I'd go to a comic convention and people wanted to tell me how much they love comics. I was like, what are your thoughts on Jack Kirby? And they're just like, who? And I'm like, oh. Because if you're a comic book fan, I'm not saying you need to worship at the altar of Kirby. He's not my personal favorite. But you should at least know his work. And you're like, well, what's his work? Well, X-Men, Fantastic Four, the Hulk, the Avengers, Captain America without the help of Stan Lee, because it was Joe Simon and Jack Kirby, Thor. And he's drawing all these books at once, too. So we're not only talking about a prolific creator, we're talking about a guy with output second to none. And I think modern people are just slowly forgetting about some of these creators, and it sucks. And hopefully their legacy will live on in different ways. I think Jack Kirby would have enjoyed the MCU more than anyone else. Oh, and the New Gods. Thank you, Tyler. Thank you, the New Gods. I completely forgot about New Gods. You can see I'm clearly biased towards Marvel books over DC, because I know these people's like work inside and out at Marvel, but not necessarily their later work at DC. I think Blue Beetle was a Charlton comic that was purchased by DC, because Blue Beetle's definitely a DC character nowadays. He's on the what is that? Young Justice cartoon, which is a good show. Let's see. Dean Hopesoffel says, are you doing anything for Back to the Future's 35th anniversary? I'm going to AwesomeCon in DC to do a photo op with Christopher Lloyd and Michael J. Fox. I think Williams' best is Indy's score. All right, those are two separate things. I'm ready to talk about them both. I wanted to do something for Back to the Future for the 35th anniversary. I don't know what's going to be out my way. If anything was coming to Ohio, I would come back to it just for that. But I don't know yet. Back to the Future is my favorite movie. I'd love to celebrate it by meeting an actor or doing something like that. You know what I should do to celebrate? Proper Justin knows all the filming locations of the film. I think for the 35th anniversary of Back to the Future, Dean, what I'll do is I'll go to the shooting locations and maybe we'll make a mini doc for the channel or something like that and be like, hey, my favorite movie is 35 years old. Let's go back and check out some of the cool locations. And I think that could be fun. That's what I'll do. I would love to meet Michael J. Fox and Christopher Lloyd and Thomas F. Wilson. And even Crispin Glover, too. I like that guy. He's crazy, but fun. And I like his dad, too. The Raiders March is your favorite indie score? I think the Raiders March is fantastic. I listen to that more often than I let on. I really like that a lot. When I was a kid, Indiana Jones was my favorite over Han Solo. As an adult, Indiana Jones is my favorite over Han Solo, too. I just wish Indiana Jones had the same lasting appeal culturally like Star Wars did. People say, but it does. It does to a degree. But people quote Star Wars all the time. Very few people quote Indiana Jones. Maybe they'll say Fortune and Glory. Or, I don't know, I'm making this up as I go or something. But I don't hear a lot of that. Star Wars quotes are everywhere. Everywhere. But it is a fantastic score. The whole Raiders score is actually really great. Kind of scary at times, too, especially the Miracle of the Ark. AJ Journeyman says, since it's before Family Day long weekend, I decided to share the Porksgiving video with a couple of coworkers. They were left speechless. Oh my God, the Porksgiving video. That was my favorite video I made for the longest time. I was very proud of that work. That was a lot of fun. That was the first thing for the channel that I bought merchandise for, props, went and filmed. Definitely won't be the last, but I enjoyed the fuck out of it. I'm glad you're sharing it, man. I appreciate it. I think I uploaded it twice because it's like barely anybody watched it. We can make a video where we talked about, I don't know, literally anything else. Does 10 times that one. And I'm just like, oh, I wish people would just watch this one. It's so fun. But, you know. So let's see. Back to the Future makes no sense. Love it, but Biff shouldn't have returned to the same reality. You mean, Jose, do you mean in part 2 when he steals the DeLorean? Because if you're talking about part 2, and please feel free to elaborate, when Biff returns to 1985, whatever, I think it's like they call it the ripple effect. And the counterpoint of that, when Marty goes to 1985 where your kids are assholes or whatever, the 2015 that we see in the movie, Biff had just returned by the time they're leaving. So by the time they left, that 2015 wouldn't exist anymore. So you would still have an alternate one. That's why Biff disappears, because his wife had shot him in the past. Lorraine kills him in that alternate 1985. That's what he's like, the pain he's feeling in the car. And I think that's Bob Gale that says it in the commentary. Because I'll give Bob Gale, Bob Zemeckis credit. Those are two dudes that worked on that, well, producer, writer, director. They never abandoned it. Excuse me. I am so congested. If it sounds like I can't speak, it's because I can't. But no, they usually doesn't make sense either. They've gone back and talked about specific time parts, but that's the reason why I think like Marty, when he goes back, the ripple has gone on long enough to where he can go back to alternate 1985. And then once everything gets fixed, he goes back to proper 1985. Okay, so you were talking about part 2. So, yeah, he was definitely dying about he was dying. That's what happened there. So, because in the first one, I'm like, well, when George I thought you were talking about when George punches Biff and sets up the whole, subservient Biff, Mr. McFly, your book came, all that stuff. See, Kevin, I'm with you. The time travel is a mess in Endgame. I don't like that film as much as I guess I should. And let's see, Kevin, AJ Journeyman, yeah, he was Tony Zuko in Batman, the guy that killed Robin's parents. It's a good episode, too. He was also on an episode of Psych. I like Thomas F. Wilson. And he does music. I'd buy his album. Darth Tico says, sup, Jeff? How goes it, my dude? Darth Tico, what is up, my dude? I am okay. Like I said, dealing with the loss and stuff, and I got this cold, but I'm happy to be doing the YouTube stuff again, keep my mind focused on other stuff. And other than that, life's pretty good. We got a new James Bond song. We got all kinds of stuff to talk about. So I'm quite happy now. We can talk about this as our this will be fun. So everybody out here is a huge Billie Eilish fan, right? Billie Eilish? I don't even know. Anyway, there she is. I mean, look at that face. That is the face of the new James Bond song. The voice, I should say. So this won't be a long segment, obviously, because, how do you critique music without going into detail or playing it for the audience, which I can't play because the song just came out 13 hours ago on YouTube. It has like 6 million views, which I would kill to get that kind of view rate right now. 6 million views in 13 hours. Ugh. Anyway, I digress. So No Time to Die, the song came out. And I feel like it's an improvement over Sam Smith's Writing on the Wall, but only a marginal improvement. It feels a lot like that. The sad thing that bothers me is in the post-Skyfall world, where I like the song Skyfall quite a bit. I mean, I bought it on iTunes as soon as I had heard it. I've listened to it tons of times. I think it's a great song. I even have an instrumental of it. But point I'm trying to make is post Skyfall, they're chasing that high. Skyfall doesn't have the most epic sound, so it's a little turned down compared to other James Bond music, but it was still great and iconic. Then you get Writings on the Wall, which is barely anything, and it's fucking trash. I can't stand it. I hate that song with a passion. You can hear it in my voice. Anytime I watch Spectre, which is less and less these days, I turn off the sound. I like the credit sequence. I think it's cool with the fire and the skulls and everything, but my God, do I turn off the music because I can't stand it. And so then we get to this Billie Eilish song, and she is a singer I don't know about. I think I've heard the one song where she's on a tricycle or a big wheel or whatever one time. People want to say, okay, boomer, I'm 31, clearly a boomer, clearly don't like, I'm going to yell at the sky or whatever, yell at the clouds. Not a fan of hers. Obviously seen pictures of her. So when it was announced that she was going to do this Bond song, I thought to myself, great. This is Barbara Broccoli and Michael G. Wilson, pulling for, another Adele, another A View to a Kill, because it's like, Jeff, they've always picked the top musical acts of the decades to do these songs. Yes and no. I think when you pick a more iconic person to do a Bond song, like it turns out great. Like Chris Cornell, loved him. I thought he did great music. I wouldn't call 2006 Chris Cornell the peak of Chris Cornell's career. I would argue Soundgarden, 90s Chris Cornell, you might say Audio Slave, but even then Audio Slave was a couple years beforehand. Point is, you just picked a great world-class singer who really had a timeless sound. And I think, My Name, the Casino Royale song, is one of the best. But then you pick Sam Smith, who was a flash in the pan, and you got Writings on the Wall, and it's nothing special. So I was concerned about that. And then I heard the song, the Billie Eilish song, right before we went on air, and it's a whole lot of nothing. It's another one of those more downplayed songs. Her voice is fine. I'm really not attacking her voice. But the music's lame, with the exception of the closing note, which is the James Bond guitar thing. I think it's a disappointment. I'm looking at this movie the same. Not excited for No Time to Die. I'm going to go see it because it's a Bond movie. I want it to be awesome. I want to be wrong. Like, when I talk about something I like and how I'm not interested in it, I want to go and go, wow, I was wrong. This was fucking awesome. This was great. This was better than I could have possibly imagined. I want that. Am I getting that from the trailers? Am I getting that from the song? No, not really. This is the 25th James Bond movie. I'm hoping it's the last. Not because I'm unhappy with life and hate everything. It's because Bond, for as much as I love the character, and I want him to go on forever and ever, Hollywood's gone full Kirk Lazarus, and you can't go full Kirk Lazarus right now because there's that nice subtlety is lost. You can't have anything. It needs to be all one way or it's the other. And so Bond really can't exist anymore, and this is for his own good. I think they should shelve him for at least a decade and bring him back with a new actor, a new producing crew. Like, I wish the Broccoli / Michael G. Wilson connection would sell off Bond to a more proven person. It doesn't even have to be owned by a big corporate entity. I don't want that. Give them to me. I'll take care of 007. We'll all pool the money. We'll buy the rights. I don't know. We won't make GoldenEye 2. I promise. But I digress. So this Bond song is nothing to write home about. Overall, personal opinion on it, it's better than the last one, but it's not anything I think I'll ever buy. Well, no, I'll never buy it, and I don't think I'll ever listen to it again, unless I'm going to say to Jessie, like, hey, listen to this song, and she'll listen to it, and she'll give her thoughts, and that'll be the end of it. And if you guys haven't had a chance to check it out, it's on YouTube, so you don't have to pay. And if you ever want to talk to me about it, I would love to have a conversation. Just because I don't like something doesn't mean we can't talk about it. Fuck. How long have we talked about The Last Jedi for? Hate the movie. But this is just a Bond song that disappoints me. I used to do my James Bond playlists. I used to actually do James Bond CDs. I would go and make a CD with every Bond song. So back then it was Dr. No through Casino Royale. And then I got to college and I stopped making CDs. And then I would put them on my phone. And every once in a while, I'd be driving with my mom. I'm like, hey, Mom, let's listen to the James Bond soundtrack playlist. And she'd go, okay. And we would do them in order of the movie. We would always skip Moonraker and All Time High from Rita Coolidge, a.k.a. Octopussy. And then we would go through and enjoy it. And we'd usually end with Skyfall. And it was a great song. I had so much fun with it. I miss the days where a Bond song could be fun, classic, iconic, and good. So, yeah, that's just modern music. So let's see what you guys are saying about the Bond song. Tim Riggs wants to know, what in the rotting hell is that from? That's just Billie Eilish as a person. That's her. That's her. Dr. Coffin-Nails, I have heard that. Or no, wait, I haven't heard that one. I've heard the unreleased song from Quantum of Solace from Shirley Bassey, which was a mistake that they didn't use that. Because come on. Another Way to Die is not a great song. If you like it, cool. More power to you. Yeah, View to a Kill, Tippy Tail McKitty. High five to you, my friend. That is a great song. Let's see. The Spy Who Loved Me is a great song. Yeah, Nobody Does It Better. That's a great song. George Burnett also likes A View to a Kill. Good job. Shout out. High five. Sean thinks Live and Let Die is the best one. Live and Let Die is a good song. I don't have anything bad to say about it. I just like A View to a Kill the most. Why are we looking at Billie Eilish? Because she's singing the new James Bond song which was released yesterday evening. I actually made an alarm on my phone to make sure I could hear it for today's show because I wanted to be able to talk about it. It's like, hey, 2 things you love, Jeff. James Bond and Batman have new pieces of information released about their next films. What do you think? In the words of the critic, it stinks. So there you go. Thunderball theme. That's a great one. That is a great one. I enjoyed that one quite a bit. Tom Jones passed out singing it. I don't know if this is Billie Eilish's personality. I don't know anything about her. I just know she's got Grammys and green hair. But hey, if you're a fan, cool. I'm not, because I don't know her. But I think she's a flash in the pan singer. That's my take on her. That is my take on her. Yes, the Grand Inquisitor, you are 100% right, my friend. She is no Shirley Bassey. Thank you very much. She's not. Shirley Bassey's still around. Bring her back. One more. Come on. You could argue she's the most iconic Bond singer. Well, yeah, she's the only person to do 3 songs. She did Goldfinger, Moonraker, and Diamonds Are Forever. Goldfinger is one of the all-time greats. Diamonds Are Forever is a really good song, too. Moonraker, I mean, it's not her fault that the words are stupid. What is a Moonraker? It's a rocket. It's a missile. How do you make Moonraker sexy? You just don't. Watch the movie. There's nothing sexy about the film Moonraker unless you're into Jaws or Dolly. Dolly's Jaws' little girlfriend. But hey, we don't kink shame unless that's your kink. George Forrest Jr., thank you very much, says, Live and Let Die and A View to a Kill are great songs. They are great songs. I have those both on my phone just as like regular songs. I don't do the James Bond playlist anymore on this new phone. But yes, both of those songs are great. I even have an extended cut of A View to a Kill I listen to every once in a while. Now, my only complaint with Live and Let Die in the film, the song, is that they cut out the drum solo part in the very beginning of the song and the credit sequence, which is my favorite part. But it still doesn't take away from it. And Live and Let Die is one of my favorite films, but it's my favorite Roger Moore film, hands down. Love it. Shapelier enjoys. Let me take that back. Shapelier fucking loves the Diamonds Are Forever song. It's a good song. Let's see. The World Is Not Enough is good. I like that song by Garbage. I bought the extended score. I like the actual song itself. I like more Bond songs than I dislike. If I'm going to go through them mentally and not read them off to you, the ones I almost dislike You Only Live Twice. I'm not a fan of it at all. but I don't hate it. We'll just put it on the dislike pile. I dis Moonraker, All-Time High from Octopussy. Writings on the Wall by Sam Smith, and then Billie Eilish. Those are the ones I don't like that much. I mean, yes, I even like License to Kill. For as much as I dislike the movie, I think the song's cool. Gladys Knight's a great singer. I like all the Brosnan songs. I mean, Die Another Day is not great, but it's not terrible. It's the 2002 equivalent of any song, okay? Different standards back then, folks. 2002 was a very weird year. Like, we thought we were far more advanced than we actually were. But some of the stuff was pretty good. Metalhead Zaki, you think The World Is Not Enough is the best Bond theme? It's a very good theme. It's fun. I love the guitar. And I like Garbage pretty much. I think they're a pretty solid band. Shirley Manson has a nice voice. Action Figure Expert, yes. About the Tomorrow Never Dies song, I agree. Have you ever heard the original one called Surrender by K.D. Lang? Much better song, but it's good. A lot of love for a lot of from Goldfinger. Brosnan movies have some good music, so I'm glad this audience at least has not turned their back on the Brosnan era of Bond. Like, you don't have to like the movies as much as I do. No one does. You don't even have to like them yourself. But they're not it's not the garbage heap that a lot of people on Bond enthusiast websites would like to promote. I feel like the Roger Moore stuff has a lot more heinous moments than any of the Brosnan stuff. Come on. The fucking Bondola. Moonraker itself is just an embarrassment, as is Octopussy. I mean, those are full movies of just cringe. Die Another Day at least has some good moments, like the gun barrel and the gun barrel. Yeah, Timmy Helmet Kitty, we're on the same page then. Oh, cool. Good news for me. So we got a lot of later people coming in. We're talking about the new Bond song, but the Batman costume. We'll talk about that again before we close it out. Never Say Never Again, Stone Cold Jeremy. I never count that one because it's an unofficial Bond release. So I'm not a fan of anything related to that film. It's still better than Octopussy, but I don't, because it's not official. It's not part of the Eon canon. I'm a little more ready to forget that it exists. But Seed Fan 85, thank you very much. My favorite is Die Another Day. See, I don't think it's the worst song. It's dumb. Like, Sigmund Freud analyzed this and all. I mean, what do the lyrics fucking mean? I don't know, but the music's fine. It's kind of funky. It's got that weird, like, electro sound to it mixed with a symphony. I think we've had worse Bond songs and we definitely had better Bond songs. It's like the movie itself. Wow. Have we had a worse Bond film than Die Another Day? Yes. Yes, we have. I've heard about the Alice Cooper James Bond thing. Yeah, and it is better than the Man with the Golden Gun by Lulu, who was like a wife to one of the Bee Gees. But the only thing I like about the Man with the Golden Gun song so much is the actual lyrics. I think the lyrics are actually fucking cool. Like, normally Bond songs have some cool lyrics, but you just kind of like into the music, the moment. It's this big, grandiose Lawrence Bender title sequence in a beautiful song. But the Man with the Golden Gun song is fun. I just like how it's like one golden shot means another poor victim's come to a glittering end, and just little bitty things like that. It's fun for me. I like the wordplay, and the music is funky. I don't like the movie that much, but whatever. We're not going to get into that. Man with the Golden Gun. Go back and listen to the commentaries on Patreon. We're going to have them finished by the time we get to the next Bond movie. We're far behind. We still have to do the Daltons, Brosnans, and all the Daniel Craig movies. So we got to catch up. But those are fun Bond movies to watch. Seed Fan 85 says, I would like to see Miley Cyrus do a Bond song. I mean, if you had Sam Smith and Billie Eilish do it, what can you lose? I don't really know any of her music outside of the Wrecking Ball song, so I don't necessarily want um, her, but I don't know. Here's the thing: I'm not a fan of hers, but then I saw her on Black Mirror, and I'm like, maybe you have some substance. Maybe she's toned it down, or maybe she's still the same stupid Miley Cyrus from MTV Movie Awards or MTV VMAs with what's his face singing Blurred Lines and twerking in the weird chicken ass pants. So who knows? All I know is that we've had worse. Let's see. She did a country version of Jolene, the Dolly Parton song. I always make the joke. It's like, who's Jolene? Because like, is a prime Dolly Parton, like, what guy's going to run off from her? I mean, if you like big fake boobs, you're really in business right there. What up, Raging Rhino? Good morning to you too, my friend. Yeah, Snookum Trooper. It's right in the middle of the. It's just there. Lady Gaga could do it. I mean, I wouldn't call myself a Lady Gaga fan, but her music's pretty solid, and she has a good voice, so she should have done it by now. George thinks Dalton is the best Bond. Living Daylights Dalton is my favorite Dalton. The thing is, I don't dislike him as Bond. I think he's really good. I just don't like License to Kill as a movie. That's it. That's what it is, flat out. I don't like License to Kill as a James Bond. Mattaween says, I'm not a big fan of pop music or artists these days, but Billie's Bond song is pretty dang good. I still think Bjork deserves a shot at a Bond song, though. That voice could work. Thank you, Mattaween, for the super chat. I appreciate that. I don't know much about Bjork. I know who she is, obviously. I always think of her with that stupid duck dress from the or it's a goose. It's a goose dress from the Grammys like 20 years ago. What did I listen to that she was singing? Oh, do you know that music choice channel that they play on cable? I was somewhere and they had one of her songs on. I was like, that's Bjork's music. At this point, I just don't care anymore with Bond, like who does the song, to a point where it's like, oh, Bjork's going to do it. All right, let's hear it. I guess I don't take the producer approach that I'm trying to sell a movie, so we're trying to put all the big names of the day. Like, oh, 1965, Tom Jones was a big name. I get it, but also Tom Jones produced something really cool. But if you like the Billie Eilish song, like I tell everybody that we don't necessarily always agree with everything or have the same taste or anything, that's cool. More power to you. Like I said, though, I think it's a step up from Sam Smith, but a step down from Adele's Skyfall. And that's my takeaway from it. I hope the title sequence is excellent, because an okay song and an excellent title sequence, I'll watch it. Like You Only Live Twice, I can watch the title sequence because it's cool looking. It's very 60s. It's very dated in terms of what technologically they could do. It's also a little more reserved based on what came before it, because the Thunderball title sequence with the music was so epic and grandiose, and on top of that, you also had the naked women swimming in the water and doing all this cool stuff. But then you get to You Only Live Twice, and it's a lot of volcano shots, and people were very obsessed with volcanoes in 1967. So I don't feel like they stepped that up, but it's enough to watch. So if the song has a really cool title sequence in a couple of years, when I do my YouTube watches of all the Bond songs when I'm drunk with Dion, well, then we'll watch Billie Eilish. Let's see. George Forrest Jr. says, Dalton should have had more films and better stories. Well, everyone always says that GoldenEye was going to be his next, it was supposed to be his next film. So we have the people like to give that credit to him, like, oh, Goldeneye's not that good. It's a Dalton film. It doesn't matter. But I wouldn't have minded more Dalton films. Like, I believe there was the next one was supposed to take place in China, but it just never got made due to licensing issues and rights. So, or I think it was something to do with lawsuits. Long story short, it was held up too long, and so Dalton just didn't want to do it. So it would have been interesting to see a world where Timothy Dalton played James Bond longer, but you know my love of Pierce Brosnan, so I'm kind of glad he didn't. Oh, excuse me, just taking a coffee break. But if we would have had more of Living Daylights Dalton, you would never hear me complain. Cesario Japan asks a question. Goldeneye was the last time Eon captured young people's interest in the Bond franchise. Yay or nay? Ooh, that would be worthy of a video itself, because that's a good topic. Let me take a screenshot of that. I'm going to go with yay. Now, let me explain why. The 90s, from what I can recall, remember, I'm born in 88, so I'm 7 years old when GoldenEye comes out. So I'm trying to recollect, have a recollection of a 7-year-old, but then also going back, with my pop culture interests and knowledge now and look back. But we didn't have like a ton of these huge franchises coming out like we do now. Bond was it. Star Wars, I didn't really know Star Wars was a thing until 96. So I'm a couple months off from being a Star Wars fan. You had, all your superhero stuff was on TV. Batman was it. Batman was your big superhero franchise. And then you had Superman hadn't been made since 1987. So we're going on, 8 years? Then we had who else? I was saying, the Bond franchise was this thing. And I think the game had just as much to do with capturing young people's attention as the actual film of GoldenEye. Now, it doesn't take away from the quality of the film. I think GoldenEye is a solid film, a great Bond film, my personal favorite, that introduces Bond to a new generation of people in general, not just children, but it's the Bond for the 90s. People say, GoldenEye is kind of a one-off that you can just skip. But to me, GoldenEye is the most important Bond film. Not ever. Goldfinger would be the most important. Well, no. Here's the thing. Dr. No, the first of any film people want to say is the most important. But when you go into making these films, you don't know what you're going to do. You're just trying to make a good movie. There's a lot riding on it in a different way. But when you get to GoldenEye, you got to understand it's a 6-year hiatus between the last Bond film. The world has changed. James Bond was really dated in the 80s. Because when you think of 80s action franchises, you're not thinking of Roger Moore running around in a leisure suit in India. You're thinking about Schwarzenegger with his giant muscles, Stallone, Van Damme, Bruce Willis, all kinds of Carl Weathers. You're just thinking of other action stars. I hate to say it, for as much as I love 007, in the 80s, he was your granddad's action hero. And some of the movies were fantastic. Some of them were dumb. But long story short, James Bond was at a disadvantage because in the 60s, he was the coolest thing in the world. We're talking the Beatles, James Bond, Batman, just these iconic things that were super popular, things that we've almost taken for granted these days as being part of permanent pop culture were new and fresh and sexy back then. Even if you go back and watch some of these Bond documentaries, the Bond stuff was lascivious. Some of it was, real edgy and racy. I've always looked at Bond movies as very tame, but then again, I'm looking at it from a 30-year window. So times we've changed, times we're different. But when you roll around to GoldenEye, we're talking James Bond's really a thing of the past. He hadn't been as relevant as people would like to claim since the 70s, maybe even the 60s, if you want to argue that Popeye Doyle and a lot of other action stars of the 70s were more relevant. Hell, in the 80s, you had Indiana Jones, who was a much bigger deal than James Bond for that whole decade. But when you roll around to 95, this is it. This is your one shot. This is how I feel about the new Ghostbusters. You're coming from a disadvantage, this iconic brand, this iconic franchise. You have one shot to correct it. You have one shot to do this. And the perfect example of why I think GoldenEye is such an important movie for the Bond series. Not even like just because it's my favorite one. Ace of Base was a 90s band that some of you probably don't even know or give a shit about. Point is, they were told by their manager not to do the Bond song because they're too big for James Bond and James Bond's going to go away. James Bond's nothing. It's 2020. We're talking about the next James Bond song, the next James Bond film. There's been, what, 10 more or 8 more James Bond films since GoldenEye. Ace of Base is a 90s nostalgia act that not many people know. They're like the song for Curves or whatever that ladies fitness group is with I Saw the Sign. You know, Ace of Base is a nothing band. So you talk about being on the wrong side of the history. That manager really fucked up. Point I'm trying to make, though, is Bond wasn't thought as highly as they like to act like it was. And so you had that movie come out and really capture the imagination of a lot of people, and James Bond was back to the forefront, and through the rest of the 90s had a movie out every other year, and they were all big hits and big events. And then you also had the games. I would think that Pierce Brosnan's James Bond, while not maybe everyone's favorite, or anyone's, or your personal favorite, but I think that version of James Bond brought in the next generation more so than Daniel Craig possibly could have, because he was Bond from 95 till 04 technically. They fired him in 05, but Everything or Nothing, the video game, I consider that like the fifth and final Brosnan Bond film. I mean, that was the era when the games had, you know, the actors do the voices. They brought in Willem Dafoe. They brought in, even though Shannon Elizabeth wasn't a big name now, she was a big deal back then. I think they had Heidi Klum. They had Maya. They had Judi Dench. They had Sir John Cleese. Like, they had all these big names attached to a video game. And that was a big thing to do. And again, like the Arkham series, I believe it was that you, Cesare Japan, that asked the question earlier, or made the comment about the Harley Quinn was introduced to a lot of people through the Batman game franchise. Look at Bond. You had a series of Bond games in the 90s and early 2000s where Brosnan only wasn't Bond in one of them, Agent Under Fire. And it's funny, too, they like to promote that Nightfire was the first one to use his likeness, but he's clearly in GoldenEye, Tomorrow Never Dies, and The World Is Not Enough video games. But that James Bond definitely brought in a lot of people. And I think the game GoldenEye made a lot more Bond fans than people realize. So I would say that, yeah, to answer your question in a nice roundabout way, that Bond, that GoldenEye and what it spawned definitely introduced Bond to this next generation, because you could argue, well, what about Daniel Craig and his reboot? Very true, a very accurate statement. But I think you introduced an older generation to why they liked Bond, or just a new version of Bond, or, in my opinion, you just introduced another Jason Bourne film, and that's all you did. So that's that. Tippy Tamakee says, I'm 48. Moonraker was the first Bond movie I saw. I don't like that movie. The only reason I like to ever talk about Moonraker in a positive way is because it wasn't intended to be the next James Bond film. For Your Eyes Only was. If you watch The Spy Who Loved Me, it says James Bond will return, and For Your Eyes Only. But Star Wars came out and changed everything, and that's why they jumped to Moonraker. And like I said, if you like Moonraker, if you like shit I don't like, cool, enjoy it, have fun. I can't stand Moonraker. I think it's so dumb. Every part to me is dumb, from the gondola chase to the boat chase down in the Amazon. Like, the space battle looks cool. From a technical standpoint, they did a fantastic job there, but I don't enjoy the movie. It was The Spy Who Loved Me came before it. I think The Spy Who Loved Me is a very good Bond film. A little long at certain points, but still a very good Bond film. And then you had your For Your Eyes Only, which followed it. And I think that's one of the most solid Roger Moore ones. It's a very small personal film, but a very good film. I would like a James Bond film to take that approach these days. Just a nice, small, little personal Bond story. And then go big again. And you have that nice, happy balance. By the way, in the chat, I was talking about how Harley Quinn was introduced to a new generation of people through the game. I know she's a product of the cartoon, Batman the Animated Series. She's my favorite in the show. Lois Maxwell is still the best Moneypenny. I want to agree, but I really like Samantha Bond, the woman who was with Pierce Brosnan. One of my favorite Moneypenny moments is from The World Is Not Enough, when James Bond comes back in the very beginning and he goes, "I brought you something," and it's a cigar. And she goes, "I know what to do with this," and she throws it in the garbage. And he says the shittiest line that makes me laugh every time: "The story of our relationship, close but no cigar." Plus, I just liked how she's always talking about, like, you think I'm going to wait around for James Bond all the time, and then she's kind of waiting around for James Bond all the time. But that classic Moneypenny James Bond relationship is definitely Lois Maxwell with Sean Connery, and it's probably the most, the most pure, if that makes sense. Like, I do like in Goldfinger when she's like, "Come over for dinner, I'll make you a beautiful angel cake," and she throws his hat on the fucking stand and all that stuff. And he's like, "Sorry, I have work." And she's like, "Oh, who is she this time, James?" And M's like, "She is me, Miss Moneypenny." And she's like, "Oh, there's hope for me yet." So she's a fantastic Moneypenny. I do think recasting her post Roger Moore was the right thing to do because of age. Like, the Bond franchise and its characters had become too old through Moore. And then you had that revitalization of new Moneypenny, new M, new Bond. You kept Q, which was good. Q, I'm glad he was always the holdover. And I was really happy that he made it through 3/4 of the Brosnan era. But I think John Cleese was a damn good Q. I wouldn't have minded if they made more Brosnan movies and John Cleese was Q. I liked him. I love John Cleese. John Cleese is one of my favorites. He's my favorite Python, and I love him in Fish Called Wanda. He's great in that movie. That movie's great. I don't know if you folks have seen it, but check it out. Everything or Nothing had a really good song. I liked that song by Maya. I had the MP3 file when I thought MP3s were cool. Kung Fu, I agree that Tom Hardy could be a fantastic Bond if it isn't woke. I also want Henry Cavill. I know people are like, "Well, he's great in The Witcher and he was Superman." I liked The Man from U.N.C.L.E. a lot. I really think Cavill could pull it off, especially after Mission Impossible Fallout. Like, if I had the voting power, just the power to cast anybody, he would be the next James Bond, and you would do you don't even have to do a time period piece like I've talked about on the channel. You just do a classic, awesome James Bond, big action story, but it's self-contained. And then the next one is self-contained. No more crossover. No more looking for my brother, father, mother, cousin, uncle, aunt shit. Just a fantastic one-off story. Tippy Tail McKitty say, "I didn't say I liked it, just said I saw it first." Well, that's true. You did say that like that. I'm sorry, but when people talk about Moonraker, I get a little antsy. That's all I can say. Beep Boop Kenda, A View to a Kill is my first. Live and Let Die is my favorite. So I think Live and Let Die is Roger Moore's best, especially that first one. I've never seen Spy Hard. But I'm glad people are digging Man from U.N.C.L.E. in the chat. If you haven't seen it, I say give it a watch. It's a lot of fun, and you'll understand why I think Henry Cavill should play Bond. Like, when I'll show you a picture of him from it. I look at him, I'm like, that should be James Bond. Typed in Man, it gave me Man of Steel. There we go. Because I'm like, yep, that's what like. Daniel Craig is whatever, but like, if I'm gonna when I think of James Bond, I think of this type of person. Like, contrary to what like Jesse says about how James Bond doesn't have to look a certain way, James Bond to me has to look a certain way, and Daniel Craig doesn't fit that. Like, that's a James Bond type to me right there. That kind of haircut, hairstyle, blah blah blah. I would buy that as James Bond. But there we go. White Rob says, "GoldenEye is a shooter that fathered all the rest. Great game. It was groundbreaking. Rolling with double guns was so fucking badass. Such a clever game." Love GoldenEye. You'll never hear me say an unkind word about it. It's my favorite video game. I have looked into modding my N64 systems to play it in HD so I can just play GoldenEye on a modern television. I don't care about the 2009 Wii remake or the one that they ported to the PS3 360, the original, and that fan remake is exciting to me. Let's see. Okay, so yeah, okay, cool. People are just still digging on the Man from U.N.C.L.E. Cool. But let me say, now you guys can see why that's just what I think of as James Bond. Peter, hail to you, my friend. Hail to you. I also agree, AJ Journeyman, with Cubby Broccoli. Bond should be a certain height. I really wish we had a producer. Like, I get it, you want to try new things. You don't want to be stale. But at the same time, I just kind of wish like people would be like, yo, there's a line you don't cross. Like, James Bond looks a certain way. James Bond is a certain thing. And there we go. The Juiciest Lemon, you did miss the Batman talk. Real quick, though, I will go back because a lot of people have asked. Not going to do the whole topic again. I'll just pull it up and tell you my quick thoughts. And then we're going to go to our final segment for today. So yes, this is the new Bat Cowl right here. As I said earlier, the music that accompanied the video was fantastic. Not in love with this. Looks a lot like Daredevil to me. I believe some of the people in the chat were saying how the cowl looks unfinished, and I agree. And you can also see the stitching over the left eye. I just don't love the plated look. I don't love him as Batman, but I don't have an opinion too strongly yet. But yes. I also think it is the weakest of all the Bat Cowls to appear on film. And I said how first appearances are everything, first impressions are everything, excuse me. And your first impression of Batman from the other ones, like the Christian Bale suit from Begins. I believe the first one I saw was him coming down the stairwell with all the bats flying down with him. That was a cool, iconic image. I mean, I grew up with Batman '89, so the back box, that's the first picture of Batman I ever saw in live action. And then I gave nothing but love to Adam West. And so I just think this is a very weak cowl. From what I'm seeing, the costume isn't that awesome, and I'm not in love with it. So that's what I had to say. Yeah, it's not menacing enough. At least the new suit doesn't have nipples. Yeah. So that's all I can say is I'm with you, though. Alpha Terra Nemo, I wish Analog would do an Ultra 64. I bought the Analog Super NT. I bought it 2018 as a gift to myself when we had our first really successful channel month. I'm like, I can afford this. And I never played it because I got really busy with the channel. I've only played through one video game completely since we've started our channel and since our channel's grown to this level, and that would be Spider-Man. Yes, I've played other video games, but I'm talking like to completion. I played through Spider-Man for the PS4 all the way through, 100%ed it, DLC 100%ed it. But other than that, I just don't have the time. Played Smash Brothers for a little bit here and there. Never beat Mario Odyssey. Didn't 100% Breath of the Wild. And that's before I would consider the channel being a success. So there we go. God, you know what we should do is we should do a GoldenEye 25th anniversary. I was going to do that actually because I'm not friends, but I have a connection to a guy who wrote a really good GoldenEye book, and then a guy who is a music producer for this new GoldenEye video game remake. So I should try to get a GoldenEye. Press 1 in the chat if you would watch a GoldenEye 25th anniversary stream with people that aren't in the fandom manosphere. We're talking like people that have tons of GoldenEye knowledge, because I would love to do that. Okay, lots of ones. Okay, then I will. Then I'll talk to the writer, and I'll talk to Yannick, and we'll try to make something happen, because I just want to give you guys the best entertainment possible in 2020. Plus, I got a couple surprises. Yeah, John Connors, I agree. The internet is to me is better than a test group, because we are the buying customers. We're the buying customers, hands down. All right, so Cesaro Japan says a 7. That's a 007. Oh, okay. Hello to Fandom Menace and everybody that has joined us. We're nearing the end of our Valentine's Day stream. Good morning, pop culture. That's actually what it is. It's nothing to do with Valentine's Day. Yes, I love you folks in a different way, but today's was just I was available. I was on East Coast time, and I really missed doing this show. I love the podcast. High Council's fun. I love everybody involved, but this is a different beast. And with the podcast lately, if you've noticed, I haven't been saying as much. It's not because I'm busy or trying to phone it in. Our internet connection is dog shit right now. So there's a lot of times where I'm talking and it's not syncing up 1-to-1 with the guys. And so it's always kind of throwing me off and killing a little bit of that. But we've already called Spectrum and we're going to be getting upgraded. So hopefully they do it right. But we have this for now. Lokio7 says, Henry Cavill is Bond, or else why bother? Well, Lokio7, I don't know if you just saw the image a second ago. I was agreeing about Henry Cavill as Bond. I mean, I actually had this image pulled up right here. That's James Bond to me. And the funny thing is, the dude would play the role. I believe he auditioned and didn't get it, and I think Daniel Craig got it. But Henry Cavill's like the perfect age, the perfect look. I would be beyond excited to buy a Henry Cavill James Bond figure, or I should just make my own. I should just buy the Bruce Wayne figure and put the Superman head on it and call it James Bond. That's all I can say. I know Spectrum is garbage, guys. Believe me, I don't think Spectrum is great, but that's what we have at the apartment, and I don't have an option. To be fair, though, when I lived in Ohio, we had Spectrum internet as well, so it never was an issue. But yeah, it's garbage internet. What can I say? So, folks, it is Valentine's Day, but yes, it is Sonic the Hedgehog Day. Will I be going to see Sonic tonight? No. I have a dinner planned, which no one needs to know about, because if Jesse's listening, I don't want to ruin the surprise. But let's briefly, before we go, let's talk about favorite movie or TV couples. I thought it would be fun. Mine is not Han Solo and Princess Leia. You'd think it would be. You'd think it would be, all this stuff that's, in the sphere, the geek culture sphere that we talk about. But my favorite fictional couple, and I'm just looking for a really good picture of them because I want to talk about them for a moment. Here we go. My favorite fictional TV movie, anything couple is, well, hold on. I'm going to read Christopher Super Chat. Thank you, Christopher. He says, I grew up with Timothy Dalton as a good Bond. You did. I did too. I was how old was I when I first saw License to Kill in The Living Daylights? I saw The Living Daylights early because I used to rent these on tape. And I do like The Living Daylights. It's top 5 favorite Bond film. I actually love the film. Don't love License to Kill. As I've said on the show proper, it feels like it's too late. It's like a Miami Vice cocaine cowboy movie, but it should have come out in 1983 as opposed to 1989 because, Ronald Reagan's war on drugs had not run its course, but, it's older, it's, later into the run. Bond should have dealt with GoldenEye works because it deals with the falling of the Berlin Wall. But you could have imagined a world, though, where you're making a Bond film where the wall's about to come down and the differences and stuff like there's License to Kill should have been earlier, but I like Dalton as Bond. It's not his fault that I dislike that shit. So, to answer my favorite fictional couple is kind of obvious. Not Mickey and Mallory, not Homer and Marge, or Al and Peg Bundy, even though I do love that show. It's Spider-Man and Mary Jane. As you guys know, I'm a huge Spider-Man fan. And you talk about growing up with characters a certain way. I grew up with Spider-Man being married to Mary Jane. The wedding took place in 1987. I was born in 1988. And I just have always associated Spider-Man as being a married man to Mary Jane. The episodes, the issues where he's married to her early on are some of the most interesting ones. Because you have Peter Parker has this guilt complex, this doubt complex that makes Spider-Man great because we're all people. We all have insecurities. We all have doubts. We question things. Why has this happened? How am I this fortunate? X, Y, and Z. Believe me, you all have your own personal things that you've thought about. if you want to be serious or not. But Spider-Man is like the first character to tackle that in a very good way. And so it's very obvious that he feels like Mary Jane is way out of his league. And at times she was. And he always wondered, why is she with me type of thing. And it was a good relationship to watch grow. I've gone back since and read not every appearance of Mary Jane. I'd be stupid to tell you that. I don't have that much time right now. But I've read a good chunk of it. Obviously, I know her earlier issues. I probably read the first 150 Spider-Man issues. I guarantee I have, at least. And I know I've read every issue from like 1980 through like 2000. No, 1980 through like 1994. And then from 2001 to 2013 or something. Like I've read like those chunks of issues. There's clearly decades I've missed that I'm trying to, or not decades, but there's portions I've missed that I'm trying to get at. But point is, I've watched the Mary Jane character grow. I've watched the relationship grow. I've watched it evolve into something different. And I always liked how she claims to have always known that he was Spider-Man. So if you go back and read Parallel Lives, I think, did Jerry Conway write that? Did he write that? Jerry Conway wrote that. So if you're like, who's Jerry Conway, Jeff? Jerry Conway was that writer that we mentioned earlier in the stream. He was on the Birds of Prey video yesterday about the talking shit about how young boys need sexualization of the female superheroes and all that stuff. Yeah, Jerry Conway's a fantastic writer. I just don't agree with his opinions. But anyway, point is, Spider-Man, Mary Jane. I've watched him grow. I've watched the relationship fall apart. I lost a lot of interest in Spider-Man when he broke up with her, or when she, made the deal with the devil. But I stuck through it, and I don't know where Spider-Man is. I don't think Spider-Man is this young swinging bachelor makes the book better. I think the era where he had a wife, where they were trying to juggle that, keep the secret from Aunt May, all of these things. Plus, to be honest, the earlier issues where they're married, like, she's a model. She's talking about taking photos for their private collection and getting naked. They clearly have a normal, realistic relationship. So, I mean, Spider-Man just, I don't know. Spider-Man and Mary Jane have just always had this interesting dynamic. Is it something I want to mimic? No. Is it something am I in love with the character? No. But I've always thought she was a really great character that never really got her just due on film. As much as I like the Raimi films and Kirsten Dunst is okay as a person, I'm still waiting for the perfect Mary Jane. And don't you dare tell me Zendaya is a good MJ, or I will just ask you to, I won't ask you to leave, but I'll tell you no. So let's see what some of you guys are saying about some of your favorite fictional couples. Clarence in Alabama from True Romance. I still need to see that goddamn movie. Silver Nova, welcome from America to a land down under. Hello. Michael, this is a great issue, the wedding issue. To bring it full circle, Mary Jane, the night before her wedding, gets in a car with a man named Bruce, and it's a comic legend that it's actually Bruce Wayne. It's like an inside joke that she dated Bruce Wayne or whatever. So, I mean, she didn't do anything with the guy, and she was clearly there the next day. I actually like how she had wedding jitters, and she shows up before Peter and thinks he's stiffed her, and then he's just running late because he was fighting crime as Spider-Man. And it was a damn fine issue. Lokio7, thank you very much for your super chat. He says, my favorite on-screen couple is Sid and Nancy. Like the real Sid and Nancy, or like, what's his name? Gary Oldman, Sid and Nancy. Because I don't know much about the Sex Pistols outside of some of their bigger hits. But is it Sid Vicious and Nancy? What's her name? Anyway, she's dead, right? He killed her. That's the story. I don't really know. I know I've seen the movie once on IFC when I was a kid, probably 12 or 13 when we had satellite. I just watched a lot of IFC because they would show stuff uncensored. So I saw the Texas Chainsaw Massacre for the first time. And it was one of the few films that creeped me out. I don't know if everyone here has seen it, but there's a scene where the kids are walking into the house looking for a phone, and all of a sudden this big metal door slides open, Leatherface hits the guy in the head with the hammer, and he like twitches and he just drags him in and closes the door. That scared me because I was like, I did not see that coming. So Oh my God, Charlie and the Waitress. Who wrote that one? You get a shout out. Crap. Where'd it go? Damn it. Thank you, Kung Fu, for your happy Valentine's Day wishes. It's going to be a nice time. Also, shout out to Liquor Jim for his Michael Weston and Fiona Glenann. Oh, it's Superfan Adam Shawhan, Charlie and the Waitress. Shout out to you, my friend. Shout out to you. Hopefully you can make it to Horror Hound. If not, we'll be at the one in September. So, of course, we're going to be there. Why wouldn't I be? I want to get something in 3 or 4 distinct parts of the country so people can try to make it out and hang out and just make it happen. Yeah, the dinner scene is creepy, but yep, okay, so people do like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I think Jeff and Jesse are going to go to the cosplay store to rent a Spider-Man and Mary Jane costume tonight. For as much as I love Spider-Man, clearly I'm not in the shape to be Spider-Man, so I would never cosplay the character. If I was going to do a cosplay, I'd get myself in even better shape. Well, I'm in great shape now, but my point is I'd do Darth Vader or it would be Darth Vader right now because I would want to look like it. I don't want to be like just some dude dressed up as Superman that has curly hair. And I'm like, well, Superman has a certain look. So I don't know. That's just me. But I do love me some Spider-Man. Plus, I'm like really too tall. Spider-Man's 5'10". I'm 6'5", 6'6". So yeah, I'm a little too big for Spidey. You know, Fandom Menace talking about your James Bond worldwide sex thing. I wonder if he just got it snipped early on so he wouldn't have any problems. I don't know. Also, shout out to Valentine Ward. Dude, clearly, well, I guess it's dude, excuse me. I don't want to, I think of Valentine Zukovsky, so that's why I went dude. But you clearly know your shit about comics and everything today. So shout out to you. My collection is from the time Peter and MJ were married. Great stories. Never got how their marriage made Spidey boring. Nothing but boring. That's Joe Quesada. Joe Quesada was a really good artist who took over, and under his reign, comics were still fun, but there were a lot of Marvel editorial mandates that I think hurt the comic book industry. Prior to Joe Quesada, it wasn't that uncommon to see a Marvel DC crossover. We had Avengers X-Men, not Avengers X-Men, Avengers Justice League, drawn by George Perez in 98? 99? The book happened. I've read it. It's good. George Perez is one of the best artists ever. Point is, when Marvel and DC played a little nicer together, I thought we had some better stories. I just think comics were better a decade plus ago. And it's not about being too old, get off my lawn type of thing. It's that the people creating comics today, and I think Ethan's made this point, maybe not, but the people that create comics today are using comics to elevate themselves to the next stage of their career. The people that used to make comics wanted to make comics. And that's the big difference. Ethan wanted to be a comic book artist. I wanted to be all this stuff. Like, people love their comics. They love this stuff. Nowadays, these writers, the artists are still, top quality. I'm not knocking any of the artists when I say this stuff. You get some really beautiful Marvel books. And it's nice to see somebody like Jim Lee still working in the field because Jim Lee's the man. Point is, though, you don't have the same kind of love and attention. So it's not about, me being old and wanting things to be the way they used to be. It's that it's honestly people don't want to make comics the way people used to want to make comics. So that's that. And I fucking loved when they were married. Didn't Dan Didio undo Superman and Aquaman's respective marriages? I've not read much Aquaman, and I'm not the biggest DC guy, so I can't tell you exactly. But probably, I forgot that Lois and Clark got married in 96 to coincide with the TV show, and I don't even remember when they got a divorce. That's how little Superman I actually read. I enjoy the character, but I don't read a ton of it. So maybe he did. Dan Didio also is involved with the New 52, or Didio. I didn't like the New 52. It started out okay. It ended badly. I really wish they could have kept the momentum. Like Batman was great up until Zero Year. Batman was great. I did not enjoy that. I think Greg Capullo is a fantastic artist, and Scott Snyder wrote some really great stuff. Court of Owls, some of the earlier stuff from Batman was great. Even like was a guy's name was like Rag Morales. He was an artist on Action Comics. He was putting out some beautiful work. That was interesting. But like putting Superman in jeans, brown boots, a Superman t-shirt, and like stop trying to reinvent the character. That's all I can say. Stop trying to reinvent him. He's fine. We don't need everything to be changed. Juiciest Lemon. No, it might sound weird, but anyone missed the pre-movie era comics? Like they all knew this was so better and got out like they knew this is it, so better go out all in the comics. But now it's all about making easy transitional looking stories. Yes, I agree that it was better when everything was done in the comics like that. Neil Adams makes a good point. You know, you have $100 million movie in your hand. Nowadays, I think if we have to place blame, I think Brian Michael Bendis is the right guy to place the blame on. The way his comics were like 6 story arcs, not much action, trying to sell a trade paperback, a lot of dialogue heavy shit. Like I almost miss the days where a comic, it's like, I was reading Fantastic Four issue 39 the other day, and it's like, there's a small intercut scene of Doctor Doom looking at like a court jester, and they're talking, and all of a sudden the guy goes to experiment hypnotism on Doctor Doom, and it undoes the hypnotism that Reed Richards used on him. He's like, oh my god, I was hypnotized. The Fantastic Four are alive. I must kill them. And then he like fucking just gets in a spaceship and flies to New York instantly. Yes, it's crazy and kind of dumb by today's standards, but at least it was action-packed. It wasn't like him having a thought, like a 14-page introspective discussion about his mother and what it meant for magic and this, and like all this boring shit. Like, I swear to God, if there was ever a point where I got to make a Spider-Man comic from Marvel, it would be a good story, but it'd be a lot of fun action. You know, it wouldn't be just a 20-page book of Spider-Man web swinging, but it would just be a story. Like, gone are the days of self-contained balls to the wall stories. Like a 2 or 3 issue arc is fine. I'm not saying that's not good, but like 27 issues to tell one story where, you know, issue number 14 is inconsequential. It's Spider-Man getting coffee and, running into some guy and talking about the plight of New York. It's like, no, people read comics for all kinds of stories. I can't put any comic in a box. But what I think is they should just go back to some really fun, big balls to the wall action. So Superman used to change in phone booths, right? What does he do after they get rid of the phone booth for cell phones? I guess he spins in a circle. Well, if he spins in a circle, he drills into the center of the earth. I did love the phone booth thing, especially in that first movie. Because the black guy's like, whoa, Jim, that is a bad outfit. And Superman's like, excuse me. I love that movie so much. So much. Yeah, Batman, well, Ultimatum was a pretty shitty story. Yeah, I agree. Mary Jane looks sexy as hell in that picture. You know why she looks so great? Because she's drawn by John Romita Sr., who is my personal favorite Spider-Man artist. Let's see. I'll usually show you a picture. John Romita, not Jr. John Romita Jr. is a really good artist that I like quite a bit, but he is not my favorite. Here's what Mary Jane looked like in her very first appearance. And here we go. We'll close out looking at Mary Jane. So I'm just saying, like, this guy has always drawn his women attractive. And Mary Jane's always been a fun character. I dug her since the first time she ever appeared. Well, clearly I wasn't born back then. But I've always liked her. So, folks, thoughts on Princess Leia and Han Solo? I'm just joking. We don't have time for that. We've been talking about them for years. Talk about a marriage that went in the shitter. So there you go. This is a much better image to close it on. The wedding of Spider-Man. So where are her organs? I don't know, Mr. V. It's a tight dress. I'm sure they're in there somewhere, right? Uh, Clearly, Spider-Man's got enough room for a couple extra sets of lungs, so there we go. I didn't like her in the Sam Raimi movies. She could have been better. I hated her in Spider-Man 3. There are certain elements of her later character that they did a good job with. Like, so when you read early Spider-Man with Mary Jane, she's a happy-go-lucky party girl, having fun, no cares in the world. Then you get to the 80s, and you realize that she's had this abusive father. He was an alcoholic. She partied to get away from the pain, and they made her a little more substantive. Is that the word? I can't think of the right word I'm trying to use right now, but they gave her more substance. I'll just break it down like that. I got that they were trying to do that with the Sam Raimi films, especially how she runs into the arms of John Jameson because, the insecurity. I'm not saying those movies are perfect. What I'm saying is they're damn good, especially Spider-Man 2. I would say that's the perfect Spider-Man movie for me. I don't know what else I could get out of a Spider-Man film that would make me feel as satisfied. I mean, it's the right blend of everything: humor, action, horror, costuming, special effects. I look at some of the effects are dated. I'm not going to act like they still look great 16 years later. Some of the Doc Ock stuff's a little meh, but Spider-Man has the benefit of being a fully costumed character. Therefore, you don't have to CGI a mouth or a cape. It's just a body, and it looks pretty goddamn good, in my opinion. But I don't like seeing MJ in high school with Peter because they weren't in high school together. She was introduced when he was in in high school or in college. Face Tiger, you hit the jackpot. So we're going to go a few extra minutes, actually, because I thought I had to go. So we're going to actually hold the show on a little more. How's that? Press 1 if you're cool with that. Yes, RR, I agree. Spider-Man 2 is the greatest comic book film ever made. Guy from Red Bank, I hate her in Spider-Man 2. She tries to get back with Peter Parker. And then when Peter Parker rejects her, she said, guess what? I'm doing John Jameson. There are parts to that I really dig, especially. Okay, so like when Peter goes to her when he loses his powers and is like, I thought I had to do something, but I didn't. And then then they go have that meal about part of me heard what you had to say. I like that. There's definitely is like a will they, won't they run around thing in the first 2 Raimi films that I know irks a lot of people. But the fact that they had the balls at the end of the movie to tell the hero and the girl, you're not going to get together type of thing because of Spider-Man's sense of greater duty. I dug the shit out of that. I really like to me, I know this sounds really fucking lame for a lot of people, but like the most Spider-Man thing of that movie is when he's sitting in his shitty apartment by himself when she's getting married. He's just like looking out the window because it's like, this is the life I've chosen. I have to be Spider-Man, great power, great responsibility, and I can't harm the ones I love, so I'll stay out of their lives. He just sits there, and I'm just like, that is the most Spider-Man shit they've ever put on film. Yes, I like the web slinging, I like the fighting, I like the spider sense, I like all that stuff. It's great, it's cool, but as a core character moment, just something so minuscule, that's it. And I'm just like, God damn, I really dig it. The older I get, the more I like that. And then I like how she even says, like, isn't it time somebody saves you? So she does a lot of dumb shit in these movies, especially her friend, the girl from was it Death Proof? That part's cringy, especially in Spider-Man 2.1. Like I said, no movie is above criticism, even for me. Like Back to the Future, my favorite movie. The scene where Marty looks at his hand and it starts to fade away. I think that's, the effect is dated. Other than that, I can't pick apart that movie. Long story short. No, but I like I said, I get the criticisms for Spider-Man 2, but I still say it's the best Spider-Man film ever, and it's my personal favorite comic book movie. over Avengers, over Infinity War, over anything in the MCU. It's a nice, small, intimate story with big action and a lot of fun. I don't need to see the world ending, but I do like to see Spider-Man fight his small battles. Shit, if I was making a Spider-Man movie, it would be even smaller. He'd fight the mob. It would be violent, not like bloody, like, Punisher violent, but it would be Hammerhead and Silvermane and that kind of crew. And it's something new and different. And I'd like to see Spider-Man deal with friendly neighborhood threats. Maybe one of his friends gets involved in drugs or crime or something, and he goes to look into it, and he finds this big organization that leads up to the Kingpin, and he's trying to do that. And maybe you include the tablet. Well, you'd have to include Dr. Connors. Point is, never mind. Fuck it. Sorry, I can't get into the Spider-Man tangents. I don't know if I want to live in the parallel universe where James Cameron directed Spider-Man and Iron Man and George Miller Justice League and Jack Black Green Lantern. I would like to have seen the George Miller Justice League. Was it Eternal? Whatever it was called. I would have enjoyed that movie. If I could do like a time hop, an interdimensional time hop, I wouldn't want to fuck with our history or our timeline because I'm very happy where I am, but I would go through and watch alternate versions of movies. Michael, what's up, man? It's been a long time since we've talked to you. He says, Jeff, what are your thoughts on Steve Englehart's Batman run from 1977 through 78, The Laughing Fish? I know the Laughing Fish story off the top of my head. I think it's great. I mostly know the adaptation from the comic, but I think it's funny. That era of Batman, late 70s, early 80s, I think Jim Aparo is the artist. I like it. Not my favorite era of Batman. I don't know if I have a favorite era of Batman. I have favorite Batman stories. But I don't read Batman like I read Spider-Man, or maybe Spider-Man's the only character I read like that, or I do just eras and decades and issue after issue type of thing. Like if I haven't read it and it's a Spider-Man book, I'll read it. Fuck, I read the newest issue the other day online for fun just to check it out. The art's good. The story's dumb. I almost feel like a man out of my time, kind of like Steve Rogers, because I get that these stories are meant to be topical and talk about modern stuff, but it's like, I don't read a comic book to watch people on a cell phone. I don't read a comic book to watch people bitch about getting coffee. Like I want to read, the Fantastic Four do interdimensional time warps, and I want to watch Spider-Man fight gruesome villains, and Daredevil uses like some of the best Daredevil shit came out a couple years ago when he fought Claw, and it was like some of the most beautiful, unique art I've ever seen. And now we're just like, it's social media, the comic book. And look, social media is important. It's valuable. If you consider YouTube a form of social media, it's currently, huge to all of us here. But I don't think social media is a story in itself. It's a tool. It's a utility. I don't think a Facebook, like the story of Facebook makes a movie, but I don't think a movie about using Facebook is a thing that can ever be done. So if that makes sense, it's the whole social media comics is not interesting. Like, I get it. You use your smartphone. You do this. You do snarky shit. You're a dick online. Awesome. Entertainment is not about that. Oh, action figure expert is quoting Spider-Man. Butterfingers. Kung Fu. I like Rhino as well. I always feel kind of bad for him that he gets stuck in this. There's a really great Rhino story where he quits being the Rhino. And this is a fairly modern story too, to show you that comic books have only turned to shit in the last 5 to 6 years. It's a really great story where the Rhino quits crime, gets a wife, is really happy he's reformed. And I think his wife gets killed, and it sends him back over the edge into the Rhino suit. I felt really fucking bad for him. Like, I like the character of the Rhino. I think any villain can be likable if they're written well and they're not two-dimensional. Except Carnage. He's a shitheel, and I'm glad that he's a shitheel. That's all I can say. Horace Cock Johnson, I still love that name. He says, Dean Holpstoffel first. Excuse me. Dean says, am I the only one that isn't a Holland Spidey fan? Well, I don't know about everybody. I accept him. To me, Tom Holland Spider-Man is like, see, he would be an example of how I would describe a role where I'm okay with the current actor playing the role, but it's not my favorite iteration. So I'm trying to give you a better example because like there's only been one Iron Man, Thor, Cap, all that stuff. And I liked Christian Bale as maybe Christian. I don't know if that's fair for Christian Bale though. Like I liked Christian Bale as Batman. Oh, fine, we use Ben Affleck. I liked Ben Affleck as Batman, but I preferred Christian Bale or I preferred Michael Keaton. I have a favorite preference over that. So I don't hate Tom Holland. I'm completely content with him. It's the world he lives in that I don't like. I also hate his costume. But because he is in that role the way he is, I don't like the whole Mr. Stark, Spider-Boy shit, that dynamic. So if we're judging it on that grade, I don't like him. If we're judging it on his actual performance, his look, his dedication to the role with getting it fit and all that stuff, I do like him, but he's not my favorite. A lot of people do like him for the jokes, and cool. If you like him for the jokes, that's awesome. I just think his movies should be more. Not even could be more, should be more. It's Spider-Man. And I talk about wanting a smaller, more intimate picture. I do. And people could argue, you get that. I disagree. You have Spider-Man as a globe-hopping superhero. Not in love with that at all. Excuse me. Sorry, I can't mute the mic. I just don't enjoy him as an international Spider-Man. I get why he's on vacation with school. Shit happens in the comics. He's not in school, but he goes to London to look after to get Gwen Stacy. She runs away after her dad died. And he goes to England, and then Spider-Man gets on the news, and he realizes he can't go to her because she'll figure out he's Spider-Man. See, I love little drama like that. That's why I enjoy the Raimi stuff, because if I could only tell you this one thing, then all would be well. But I can't because of my sense of duty. So you must think I'm an asshole, but I have to play the asshole to protect you. But I'm doing the most noble thing possible. That's Spider-Man. Horace Cock Johnson says, hate the scene in Spider-Man where the cable car is falling. Everyone's screaming except the operator who just looks around confused. The group acting is dumb. But if you're talking the entire scene, I think it encompasses a very important time in pop culture. Like, I know I've used this example before, but it's, to me, the most accurate one. Like, post 9/11 New York, post 9/11 cinema in general, I'll just say but we all really needed that like moment, because you had this terrible event, then you had all this stuff go on. I don't know exactly the date for the Patriot Act, so I'm just kind of lumping this in, like post 9/11, anthrax scare, all this stuff, going to war, just these scary things, especially when you're a kid. And like some movies were held back because they didn't feel it was the appropriate time to release them. Some came out and failed, like a Donnie Darko, which dealt with an airplane engine crashing into a house and all this stuff. But Spider-Man was like the first really big, it's okay, everything's going to be fine type of movie. And we had like that scene where everyone's like, you mess with New York, you mess with one of us, you mess with all of us and all this shit. And like people cheered in the theater because it was like I don't know if that scene was written and filmed before all the events or post, but no matter what the case, it was perfect, right place, right time. Now, if you're talking about the one specific scene where the guy's going, help, and all that shit, yeah, it is kind of hokey. But if you're talking about the entire scene, and especially when Spider-Man has to make the decision, and he's looking at the camera and you see it in his lenses, and he's watching Mary Jane go and the kids go and the other one, like, I like that scene. If you're talking about the specifics of the acting, I get it. But overall, I think it's a very strong, powerful scene. One of the best in the movie, just because of the timeliness of the scene. I also hated how he's been taking off his mask a lot. That was my number one complaint with Andrew Garfield. When he saves that kid on the bridge, and so he doesn't scare him, he takes off his mask. No, I don't like that. You didn't have to write that as a story. He's saving a child. It's got to, like, I don't like how they try to make Spider-Man be for little kids because they're trying to sell merchandise. Like I said earlier in the stream, Spider-Man was a married man, and I bought all the toys as a kid. I don't get, the people behind it are just dumb. Like, the characters don't suck. The people behind them suck. If you can make Carol Danvers be kind of okay for decades, like my first introduction to her was New Avengers. I had no problems with her as a character. I can't stand her now. Let's see what she looked like back then. Cartoon. But here we go. This was Carol Danvers. I don't want Captain Marvel, the fucking movie. Miss Marvel New Avengers. Here we go. No. It's so weird how Google searching and indexing works because when you're looking for something specific, obviously you get the most up to date shit. And I don't know if I necessarily like that because it makes you like the Ghostbusters thing. For a while, when you search Ghostbusters, you got that. And I don't want Kamala Khan, Miss Marvel. Whatever. I was going to try to give a character some props, but I'm not. So fuck it. We're done. She sucks. Anyway, yeah, Spider-Man isn't a young boy. Yeah, he starts out at what 16 years old, 17 years old, and he goes on for decades and decades and decades. But in the real world, he's like Spider-Man for what, like 6 years? I could get down with like a 24, 5-year-old Spider-Man. But I just think like little kid Spider-Man isn't cool because if I was making a property that I wanted kids to read, I'd make the character slightly older, make the kids want to be cool like the older kid. That's kind of how it always has worked. Power Rangers were very hokey, but it worked that they were slightly older because when you're a kid, being a teenager seems like this big deal. When you're a teenager, it sucks. I mean, the freedom part's awesome, but you really know nothing when you look back at it. But my point is, you're going and you're aspiring to be a little older. And Spider-Man is this dumb, goofy kid. I just look at it and go, kids suck. I don't want to watch a movie about that, you know. So that's how it goes for me, at least. Mr. V makes a great point. Corporate dummies catering to young audiences, ignoring generations of fans that grew up with the character. And you don't need to make him old. Like, I'm not asking for like a Spider-Man Rain movie, even though I think that'd be fantastic if done right. What I'm asking for is just a nice representation of the character overall. That's it. A potpourri of the characters, a character. And that's why I thought the Sam Raimi one worked the best. Because young, old, everybody. If you had a Spider-Man, if you grew up watching Spider-Man at some point, you saw in some way your version represented in that movie. Be it Ditko era, Romita era, or a more modern Ultimate take in some of the high school scenes, you still saw a nice amalgamation of all of it. Tyler, I liked the MTV Spider-Man cartoon. Quite a bit, actually. That's not an unpopular opinion with me. I remember catching the first episode when I got back from seeing Charlie's Angels Full Throttle and Terminator 3 Rise of the Machines at the drive-in. The highlight of my night was that Spider-Man cartoon. I think it's very good. Well, Joe, I think the reason they won't let Spider-Man grow into his 30s and 40s is because they think kids won't like it. But if you don't make stories about him being old, it's not an issue. Like, you could make Peter Parker just some generic age. Don't even address it. But if he's fighting villains, wearing the suit, doing interesting things, you're fine. You know, as a fan of this shit, I never once thought it was stale when he was, you know, a different job makes him interesting. But like when Aunt May's doing her own thing, but she's still alive, and Peter's doing his own thing, and he's still kind of struggling. Because like we all get it. You know, we don't, I'd like to think, I don't even like to think, I think our audience in general understand what it's like to work for something, build towards something. Sometimes you have it taken away. Sometimes you're very fortunate that you get to go to the next level. Spider-Man should always be working towards that next level and have the rug pulled out from underneath him and then have a small victory to make him feel better. I mean, there's a formula to this shit. People just don't seem to get it. Hello, Fandom Menace. I don't know if superheroes have social media accounts. I know Spider-Man has a fictional one in the game, like when people find him or something like that. I guess maybe Deadpool does. I don't read a lot of modern comics, so I don't know if they have that. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. But it would be in more modern books, and I don't read those. AJ Journeyman, I had heard about that MGM rights trading issue. I guess it worked out for the good because, we did get the Raimis and we got some decent Bond movies for a while. Tyler, that's an excellent point about the Fantastic Four. I've been going back and reading old FF because I like Jack Kirby, but the reason I've gone back to read some of it too is because I know the movie's coming. I'm going to guess by 2025. You brought SJWs. I think SJW and cancel culture and all that stuff will be around in a different way. I know this sounds crazy to say, but I think like the fans won in the battle to save Star Wars type of thing. And you're thinking, but they made these terrible movies. They attacked the fans. It's ruined. Disney knows it wasn't viable. That's why we're not pushing forward with Rey spinoffs and more of these spinoffs. We're going to Mandalorian. We're going to Obi-Wan Kenobi, hopefully one day. They're doing shit that they know the fans will like. They've learned the Star Wars experiment has failed. The integration, and I'm going to make a video on this, I guess, because I'm kind of on a good roll. The integration of these modern ideals and politics just didn't work. And because Star Wars is the biggest brand of all, or at least historically, I think the trickle-down effect will be that the other ones don't try it. They'll try it with fringe stuff, hoping to appeal to some audience, because the main audience doesn't exist for Birds of Prey. So they'll be like, hey, let's get the feminist audience. Let's get this audience. Maybe somebody will watch our movie. We learned that audience is very small. But by the time we get to FF, I'm hoping that's not the case, because I want a very traditional Fantastic Four. Now, she doesn't need to be called the Invisible Girl. She can be the Invisible Woman. I'm not one of these guys that's, it's got to be 100%. And I also am not going to be bothered and call it feminist if they call her the Invisible Woman, because they call her that in the books. 60s were a different time. I don't want to watch a spirit movie with Ebony Black being portrayed as the way he is in the old books. But again, I also don't get up in arms. I look at things were a product of their time. And I'm thankful that society has evolved. I don't go, oh my God, in 1947, this was so terrible. I go, look, 1947 was a long time ago. I'm thankful I didn't have to live through this shit. Any of the embarrassments that Black people did in the 40s, but it's a new day. It's no longer 1947. We're all very fortunate to not have to live with that kind of thing. Anybody of any race, any color. Yes, the world's not perfect. Yes, there's racism, all this other shit. But we're so much better than we used to be. It's these, I'll just say SJW people, even though I really don't use that phrase much in the videos. But it's those types of people they're so regressive. They want to take us back. They want to segregate. They want to take us and separate and all these things. And it's like, yo, we're past the point. We're to the everybody loves everybody era, or at least were, until people got crazy and tried to tear it apart. Who cares if a white dude wants to make rap music? It brought us Eminem, and I really liked Eminem as a kid. Black people doing rock and roll. Chuck Berry. People say Chuck Berry created rock and roll. I don't know, maybe. I really don't have an opinion on the early days of rock and roll. My point is, Jimi Hendrix is the greatest guitar player of all time, and he's black. Prince is up there too. And I think Prince was black. Of course, Prince was black. I'm joking. My point is, when we get to FF, I'm hoping they do very traditional, Human Torch, Sue Storm, brother, sister, both white with blonde hair. There's nothing wrong with having blonde hair and being white. Ben Grimm should be Jewish, and they should all be the same. Oh, well, the Fantastic Four are 4 white people. Oh, well. Guess what? The Avengers were all white people. Hulk was green, but he was white. And you know what? A black dude led him, and I'm cool with that, because you adapt a different version. I don't know a version of the Fantastic Four where the Human Torch is randomly black outside of that movie with Michael B. Jordan. So they will get up in arms about the nuclear family if those kind of people still have a strong voice online. I think Marvel it's weird. Marvel Comics will cut its nose off to spite its face. They will go down in flames before they will not worry about the milkshake crew type of comic books. They will just move on, and they will sell off to IDW. They will have other places print and make comic books before they would dare offend and get bad press online. I say get bad press, make great comic books. So, Liquor Jim, thank you for that Chappelle Show reference, and thank you, superfan Adam Shahan. So, spinning my wheels, I did hear the new Bond theme. We talked about that a little earlier in the stream. Wasn't a fan. I thought it was better than Writings on the Wall, but a step down from Skyfall. And it's not as good as You Know My Name, but it might be better than Another Way to Die. I'm just basing it on the Daniel Craig ones. Wasn't in love with it. I don't like Billie Eilish because I don't really know her music, so I'm not a fan. I understand why the producers would want to get a big popular name in music, but I think a great song will transcend a flash in the pan moment. But hey, that's just me. Why do I feel Eric Serra was the wrong choice for Goldeneye? Okay, so I don't necessarily feel he's completely the wrong choice. Like, I think some of his music is fantastic. Like the Goldeneye gun barrel is the best. From the music to Pierce Brosnan's everything, the CGI of it, it just looks perfect. That being said, the Goldeneye Overture is great. I enjoy most of the music to Goldeneye. What I don't like is the other girl where he's driving and Xenia Onatopp comes in and what is it? The Sounds of Love or whatever that song that plays at the end credits. Because Eric Serra has that really distinct, like that weird like tone thing he uses, and it's in the video game. I think that's cool because it represents the remnants of the Cold War. That's another reason why I enjoy Goldeneye so much, because it's wholly unique to something. In many ways, it's if that was like a one-off type of movie, it would make complete sense. Now, that being said, I do prefer the more traditional David Arnold score that follows the next three Bond films. But I don't think he was necessarily a terrible, terrible choice. Yeah, the Goldeneye trailer music was fantastic. You know, it was created by a married couple in their living room. Was it Star Parodi and something else, or Jeff Starr and something Parodi? I don't know. But yeah, they're a couple. They had an interview that I read somewhere one time, and it was interesting. But that was like the most in-demand Bond theme, so much, in fact, that they put it on the soundtrack, the Best of Bond, James Bond 2002 edition. And I used to listen to that all the fucking time. That was my one of my ringtones for a while. Just that opening, it's fantastic. Megatron Prime, thank you very much for your super chat. Norman Osborn is my favorite Spider-Man villain. Norman Osborn is a fantastic Spider-Man villain. He's okay. If we count J. Jonah Jameson, then he, to me, is the best Spider-Man villain because he's done more to harm Spider-Man than anyone else. Now, if we don't, because he's not a villain per se, Norman would be my second favorite. The Green Goblin is so effective in destroying Spider-Man's life. I mean, he took away his girlfriend. He's done so many different things to him. Plus, he ruined Harry's life, and Harry is a friend of Spider-Man, so in that way, he also ruined Spider-Man's life. You won't hear me say too many bad things about Storm and Norman. I liked him in the movie. I loved him actually in Spider-Man 1, played by Willem Dafoe. The Chris Cooper version, no thanks. But I mean, he's like the Joker in the way that I really don't have anything bad to say about the character. I love him in the cartoon, The Spectacular Spider-Man. I like him in the 90s cartoon. I mean, Norman Osborn is just the Green Goblin's iconic. People say he's Spider-Man's greatest villain. I would agree, but my personal take is it's Doc Ock. There's just something about the Spider-Man Doc Ock dynamic. Plus, Norman Osborn went away for a while in the comics. You thought he was dead. Turns out he wasn't, but I think they kept him out of the comics for 26 years, 25 years, something like that. That was slick. But I think he was off in Europe convalescing and he was like pulling the strings the whole time. I dug that. When you found out that like he was the reason why the nurse caused Mary Jane to have a miscarriage, or he's, all this stuff, like it's so cool. It's like 4D chess, or however they say it on Star Trek. It's just next level shit. in terms of like effectiveness to destroying Spider-Man's like definitely his greatest villain. Personal opinion, I just go Doc Ock. He's Spider-Man's intellectual equal. It's if Peter Parker were to go down the wrong path. Plus, technically, he beat Spider-Man. He took over his body. He controlled his life. I really dug that series. So much fun. Let's see. Norman should have stayed dead in the comics. Well, you did bring up the Thunderbolts run, so I liked that. But no one's ever really gone. You know what? I just remembered a bad Norman Osborn story. The whole Gwen Stacy got pregnant by him thing or whatever. That was dumb. Yeah, that was dumb. But then again, so was Ollie Osnick, the amazing Spider Kid. So, no, but nothing is perfect. There are some dumb issues, many dumb issues. Kung Fu, I've seen that documentary. I saw that on Amazon or Hulu or something, maybe Netflix, a couple years back. The story of Canon Films. It was fantastic because it talks about Breaking 2 Electric Boogaloo, how they use the fishing line on the finger to pull the broom back and all this shit. It was cool. I've seen it, yeah. Yes, Spider-Man has good villains in general. I'd argue he has the best rogues gallery. People say Batman does, and Batman has a fantastic rogues gallery. But I think after you get through the first wave of iconic Batman villains, which are really second to none, Spider-Man's supporting cast of villains after the top tier really do hold their weight better than like Calendar Man and shit like that. I mean, even the Puma has more substance than a lot of second-tier Batman characters. And I'd call him a tertiary villain for Spider-Man. Yes, obviously you have your stupid characters like the Gibbon, but every superhero has dumb villains. But the MCU is able to take those bad characters and sometimes make them great, like Batroc the Leaper, have George St. Pierre play him, turn him into an MMA fighter style, and have Captain America have a pretty awesome battle on that ship. Hopefully, I can't say that because MCU Spider-Man doesn't do that. They took the Vulture and they made the Vulture good. I'm not going to lie. I enjoy the shit out of Michael Keaton playing him. But I don't think Mysterio's that good because his whole thing was you turned my character into barf, or my creation into barf. And that's it. I don't even remember if it said about him paying to use the technology. I'm sure he did because he would have gotten sued. But plus, after Tony Stark had the whole the close call in the Middle East, and he became Iron Man. He was a much different type of businessman. I can understand him doing the shit he did to Alexander Pierce. Not Alexander Pierce. That's the guy from Iron Man. Guy Pierce played him. What's his fucking name? Who's the bad guy from Iron Man 3? Gideon? No, not Gideon. Gideon Yeager. That was the guy from MTV. Somebody tell me the bad guy from Iron Man 3 in the chat. What was his name? Let's see. I have never read the Spider-Man manga. Wait, no. The old one, right? I have. Killian. Okay, Killian. Why did I keep saying Gideon? Gideon. It sounds the same. Thank you, Mr. V. Aldrich Killian. That's his name. There we go. I couldn't think of his name for some reason. But yeah, I could see him screwing him over because it was 99. It was a different time for him. But like post becoming Iron Man, he's much more of an ethical businessman, and I couldn't imagine him not paying off, especially as a public figure as Iron Man. I mean, he would pay him just to keep him to shut up from saying anything like that, So I just think that's kind of a dumb. Mysterio is a dumb villain, and I think Mysterio is actually a pretty cool. Dio Brando said it first. Sorry, Dio Brando. I missed you, man. There you go. Put you on the screen. Sorry, buddy. Completely missed it. So, I didn't mean to. But yeah, the fake Mandarin 2 is kind of dumb. I don't know. Maybe on Patreon I'll review every MCU film in detail. That'll be fun. I don't mind watching them, and then I can just sit and talk about them. Do some stuff before Black Widow, which, I don't know. Tell me your thoughts, because I haven't done one of these in months. Are you guys excited for Black Widow? Too little too late for me. But, just saying. I want it to be great because the thing is, I want all these movies to be great. I want to have a good time. We have this there's this misinterpretation of what our channel represents here on the internet. Like, we reach a lot of people, but we do request the best out of pop culture. So, late, not that hyped. It looks dumb. No. Kinda am, says Dragon Cry. Not really. Yes and no, TV Zero. Dio Branda, thank you very much for your super chat. He says Taskmaster looks like hot garbage. I'm not a fan of the design, and I think that shot in the trailer where he steps on the shield and catches it looks like terrible CGI. I kind of wonder about some of the budgetary choices for the MCU. I mean, look, every movie's successful. They're making money. We know Avengers Endgame was the highest grossing film of all time. And I think there was that rumor that between Avengers Endgame and Infinity War, the budget was $1 billion. And so combined, it brought in like $5 billion. So you know that's a great turnaround. But there are just certain MCU films have very questionable effects. And Taskmasters definitely is one of them, as well as some of the shit in Civil War. There's like some really choppy frame rate CGI that I'm not in love with. And I wonder if Black Widow, being what it is, a smaller film, I wonder if Black Widow is going to suffer from some of those things. We'll find out. I mean, I'm going to go see it. I don't think Captain Marvel is an indicator for a Scarlett Johansson-led Black Widow film. I think other Black Widow films are an indicator of, or other Black Widow appearances are an indicator of that film over anything else. Get the Soska sisters to do a Black Widow movie and they'll kill out the box office. I've met them. I almost had dinner with them once. True story. We were like, they had agreed to, and then we couldn't find them. But yeah, the elevator ladies. So let's see that as right. I'm positive. Yeah. They were at Horror Hound, and Nick knows them. Yeah, Nick knows some cool people. We're building some connections. What about the Rhino? The Rhino, like I said earlier in the stream, I think the Rhino is a good Spider-Man villain when done right. As I referenced the issue when his wife got killed and he went back to crime. But I also like when the Rhino is used as just a blunt object. And I think my favorite Rhino appearance is in the video game where he's played off as stupid. When he's in jail with Doc Ock, he's like, "Hey, Doc Ock, I got a bingo. Who's your daddy now? And I think they're playing poker or they're playing Go Fish, and he thinks he gets a bingo. And it's the funniest miscommunication of a video game ever. So, yeah, I think they should have, ended the MCU too. But hey, Black Panther looks janky as fuck. Yeah, some of the effects in that movie do not look good. I did watch Iron Man Armored Adventures when it was new back in, 08, 09. I didn't watch it regularly because I was in college. It was weird. I was like, I'm too cool for this show. Not really. I just thought I was a little old for it. But I did watch Spectacular Spider-Man like you wouldn't believe. It was, whatever. I couldn't stop watching it. Matt G, thank you very much for your $1, my friend. I appreciate that. There's no message attached, but still, thank you very much. So, folks, we've hit the 3-hour mark for Good Morning Pop Culture, and really the steam hasn't left the episode. We got the chat rolling. It's been a lot of fun. It just tells me that you guys like this. So when I'm on the East Coast, or at least Eastern Standard Time, on a weekday morning, I think I want to make this happen. Make it happen for you guys, for people like Spider-Man, not Spider-Man. I was reading this message as I said that. I was going to say like Superfan Adam Shawhan and the guys who were here the entire time. Shout out to Sketch Therapy as well, man. Thank you. But I am going to get going. It is Valentine's Day. Actually, I'm getting ready for Monday's video. There's tons of stuff to talk about. It's funny. I was having a discussion with Salvador's super fan of the channel. He's one of our mods here, and he helps over on the Facebook page big time. He was telling me, he was asking me how the channel was and stuff. I said, we've actually seen growth consistently even post Star Wars. He's like, I thought Star Wars would be a slump. I said, no, man, the world of pop culture never ceases to amaze me with its stupidity. And we talk about everything. So, folks, we're going to be continuing to talk about everything. This week, we got a big Star Wars video. We have a couple other things planned, some surprises. We're going to have some fun on the High Council. And this week's podcast will be extra special. If you are a patron, I know Dr. Coffin Nails is here. As you know, our recording software had issues with my Windows update, so we didn't record after hours. But next week, we're going to give you guys a double episode to make up for the bullshit. We're going to talk about Corey Feldman's documentary, get a little serious. I've been noticing we've had a really good response to, yes, the fun, yes, the zany, yes, the you pieces of shit comments, but we've also gotten a little deeper into some of the stuff like Amber Heard's abuse of Johnny Depp. And it's interesting to hear what everyone's take is on some of the serious pop culture issues. So we're going to continue that. We're going to stay fun. We're not going to become boring or droll. I mean, it's an election year. You guys definitely need an escape from the garbage that is 2020 politics and the world of entertainment's smugness. So we're going to remain as fun, if not more fun, than we always have been. So thank you, Dookie12. This WCBS train has no brakes. Our cargo is paying, freight train, and the conductor's insane. That's me. I am crazy. But let's see. So we'll be back later on with more, and I want to thank everyone for joining us. I'll be announcing the P.O. Box, the new P.O. Box this week as well on the channel. Just remind me, and we'll give you guys all the information. You can send what you want to send. And now that I'm in a different location, I can actually do better P.O. Box unboxings because of my living situation. So we'll get back to those. We'll have a lot of fun. And if you've sent stuff and I haven't released the video, I will edit it. I know exactly where I ended the last one, and I'll go back and put that together, and we'll make that a part of the channel once again. So, folks, I want to thank each and every one of you for joining us. Have fun today. If you have a special somebody, male or female or whatever, go have fun. Enjoy Valentine's Day, or just enjoy Friday. Go out, have some fun. I don't know, do whatever the hell you want to do. Just be safe. And as always, folks, be excellent to each other.